Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Three in the Keystone, episode 55.
Three in the what?
Yeah, that was a little slip of the tongue. I guess the first time I screwed up the intro.
Off to a great start.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Three in the Keystone, episode 55. I'm Adam Seltzer alongside Chris Guest, Al Ryan back in the building after a 1-week hiatus. We will dedicate this week's episode. You know, Chris, we talked last week. We wanted to go local or national. We're sticking local. That Dikembe Mutombo.
There you go.
Had to be 5-5.
Who want to come to LA with me?
Those of you guys who watch on YouTube, you'll be happy to see a familiar face after some technical difficulties last week. So I'll give you guys a quick story of what happened. So I brought my laptop into work, and I'm pretty friendly with our IT guy. So I shot him a notice today. So you think you can take a look at this? I couldn't get the camera to work last night. So he's messing with it. He goes, let me take it downstairs. So he takes it downstairs. He's like, I think I need to reinstall the driver for the camera. I'm like, all right, whatever you got to do. Next thing I know, about a half hour later, I get an IM. He goes, think I could take this thing home tonight? He goes, I tried to reinstall something and it completely screwed up. I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, I'll be like, yeah, it's on your dime, bro.
Well, look, I'm the one who gave it to him. He's not obligated.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean he's gonna mess your whole computer
So
up.
then my man sends me an IM at work on Wednesday morning or Thursday morning, and he goes, figured out what the issue was. I'm like, what was it? He goes, well, there's a button on the keyboard that turns your camera off that you must have pressed.
Oh, dude, come on, man. Come on, man.
Dude,
That's our show tonight, folks.
I was even gonna say, like, is your IT guy cool? Because IT guys are known for being kind of smug jerks because of stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah, he's cool. But then he had done like reinstall. He was like, I still need to reinstall a lot of stuff because I completely screwed it up. But this is the first time I've turned it on since, and we're live and we're going good. So
I have a couple things for you guys. First of all, I don't know if you've noticed the basement's done. I know
see that.
That's it.
I never really gave you guys like a real look. But look, the weights are gone. We're not clanging and banging anymore. We just got a little area for the kids here.
What do you have, a Cyberbot show coming up?
Whoa. Yo, Jackson's already been razor's edged on it, pile driven on it. This is actually just a big beanbag though. Like this cover right here goes into that cover. But I wanted to ask you guys last week. So I wasn't out with strep throat. I was out with hand, foot, and mouth disease. And you guys,
I thought you couldn't even get that as an adult.
So yes, I thought so too. I've gotten it 3 times. This is my 3rd time getting it. So as future new parents, 2 of you, let me heed my warning. If your kids or anyone in your household gets it, you're around anyone that gets it, dude, lock yourself down. Like, don't mess with this.
Yeah, I heard it's rough.
It's bad. You ever bite your cheek and then you got that sore on the inside of your cheek for like a week? Dude, you get those, but in your throat. So you can't talk, you can't drink, you can't eat, nothing. It's wild.
You lose some LBs?
Yeah, dude, I lost 5 pounds in 4 days, like immediately. You lose your appetite too, because you don't even want to eat.
Well, mentally, you don't want to eat because you know it's going to be painful. Yeah,
and then you get them, hence the name. You get them on your hands and your feet too. But it's all different for different people. I don't get them too bad on my hands and feet, but I get them really bad in my throat.
That sounds terrible.
It's really bad. So I texted you guys. I don't know if you got it. As we get older now in our 30s, because this is something that like I never would have thought of in my teens or my 20s. What is like the random ailment, sickness, injury that you've gotten that like was one of the most, like maybe the most painful thing in your life? Do you guys have like a list or a thing that stands out to you?
Well, I guess I'll start first. So you guys probably know already. I have a history of vertigo, so I've that's very debilitating. But we've pinpointed, I think, to anxiety, which thankfully I've been able to control that. I haven't had it in a while now, but painful wise, not necessarily an ailment, but painful wise, we were playing one of our games back in the day at Seltzer. What was that field we played on by City Ave?
Shamano,
yeah. And I was playing defense and I bit a hole through my tongue.
Oh man.
That I had to go. I left right at halftime, went right to Roxborough Hospital, which that shows you how much of an emergency it was. I went to Roxborough Hospital because I wouldn't have won or any other reason for that. But that was like 3 days of like, you talk about not being able to eat and all that kind of stuff. Like anything I ate, it hurt. You could see the penetration that my 2 teeth left in my tongue. So the tongue is the only organ that, like, well, not, I don't think it's the only, but it's it's actually the strongest organ in your body because think about it. You talk all the time. So it's constantly working, constantly moving.
Is the tongue an organ
Yes.
or is it a tissue?
No, it's an organ. It's part of your digestive system.
Well, guess big tongue guy after this injury.
So it was very painful. Very painful. And of course spraining my foot too when I celebrated with Seltzer on a touchdown one time years ago in the snow and I landed on my foot and that was worse than a sprained ankle or anything like that. Spraining your foot. Woo!
Well, so Chris, my number one most painful experience I've ever had 2 summers ago, right at the end of August, right before I went back to school, I got an ingrown toenail that I laid in bed and cried because it was that painful and I didn't know what to do about it because you hear ingrown toenail, you're like, that's nothing. Dude, It got infected. My whole toe blew up. I had to manually I had to just bite a spoon and just go in there with my fingers and like just try and dig it out. Yeah. When I finally did, it had to be less than a millimeter. The nail that had broken off and just dug into my skin. That is the most intense pain I've ever had in my life, and it's for something so ridiculous.
Yeah, so stupid. I don't know if you've ever heard of anybody that has gout, but my brother has gout, and I remember when he first got diagnosed, when he first had it, and he told the doctor it was in his, I believe it was in his foot. He's like, literally, if you have to cut it off because it's so pain. I can't live like this.
Yep, I had this conversation with Calvin and Jack. Calvin said gout. And Jack said a kidney stone, which
gout's no joke.
I dread getting a kidney stone.
Me too. Yeah, it's rough. All that stuff with any kind of like
you have like tennis elbow or something, or what do you got over there?
Who may? So I haven't had anything too bad in a while. The most painful thing I ever had in my life was in 6th grade when I had to get my wrist reset. But we're talking later on in life. I've had back issues, but I wouldn't say that's as painful as it is just discomfort.
Yeah.
So for me, I would say, and Chris, this was back when we were playing football and softball. Well, you weren't playing softball. I played football and softball. And I played quarterback. And for 3 or 4 years towards the end, I was battling shoulder inflammation. And when I tell you that every time I threw the ball, my shoulder felt like it was on fire. And like the nice thing about it was when I wasn't throwing, I wasn't in pain. But it got to the point where I was playing softball and I would be playing shortstop and I would just pray that balls weren't hit at me. Because it would I couldn't, and I still have it to this day. I got cortisone shots. I did PT. Yeah. Dude, I couldn't get it. Got to the point where I just stopped playing. I was like, this isn't fun for me anymore.
It's not worth it.
Every time I threw the ball, I was just on fire.
I mean, I got to go probably to Rothman myself now because my shoulder, I don't know what I did with it lifting or something like that, but my right shoulder now is like if I lay on it, it's like I can't even lay on my right side because it's too painful. And I don't know if it's a tear in there. I don't know what. I thought it was just like muscle soreness at first, but it's been like weeks and it's not going anywhere.
The PT I used to go to for my back said that shoulder pain is the worst pain you can have because you can't lay on it, nothing. Like it's just discomfort and pain all day long. And he was like, if you could do anything to avoid shoulder problems, avoid it. But the 2 things real quick. I had my first migraine last summer. Absolutely debilitating.
Oh, yeah.
And an infected tooth. Unreal intense pain.
I remember when you were talking about that. Yeah.
Unreal pain.
Your body's falling apart, dude.
It is, dude. It's these little things. I'm breaking down like it's a death by 1,000 cuts over here.
You're like Joel Embiid, man.
Yeah. No, I hear you out. And there's also like vestibular migraines where you may not even feel pain of the migraine, but you have like other symptoms like the light sensitivity or dizziness and all that kind of stuff too. And that's awful.
The migraine is so bad that like, since you've never had it before, the first time I had it, it was so bad. I was convinced I had a brain tumor. Like I was convinced that it had to be something more serious because of how bad, because like you've never felt like you've had headaches, but a migraine is like headache on steroids. It's wild.
Yeah, no, it's scary stuff.
Crazy. Let's jump into tonight, boys. We talked last week. We're going to do a Phillies trade deadline primer, but we thought it may be a little bit more fun if we put some Phillies on trial, play judge, jury, and executioner. So
we need the Law and Order drop.
So we've each taken 2 Phillies, and we're gonna put them on trial. Al, this was one of your ideas, so I'm going to kind of let you run. And if I didn't explain it properly, please feel free to add on for our listeners.
I think you explained it very well. You pronounced it correctly, unlike the title of the show at the open. But we're each gonna present. So we're gonna be almost like the plaintiff here, and we're gonna be putting one of the players or somebody a part of the Phillies organization on trial for a crime that we believe they've committed, and the other two gentlemen will be the judge and the jury. So you're gonna, whether or not they're guilty, whether or not the sentence fits the crime, the sentence that we're asking for, so to speak. So if you guys would like, I can go first. We can start. I'm gonna put Kyle Schwarber on trial, and I wouldn't say this is a felony, but this is a recurring misdemeanor. This is a recurring offense, so it's getting to be serious. And I have him on trial for loitering, and what he's loitering in the leadoff position in the lineup. He's played 47 games batting leadoff. It started, I think, June 2nd. He hasn't missed a game at leadoff since then. He's batting 193 from that leadoff position with 13 home runs, 34 RBIs, and 24 walks. Now, if you look at the other positions in the lineup that he's played 10 games batting second, hit 167, so not great. 21 games batting fifth, hit 136, so again, not great. But
not great.
Not for his standards. 20 games batting third, though, Chris. Listen to these Herculean numbers. 234 batting average.
That's a sweet spot. That's a sweet spot.
Right?
Cameron Hank.
Now, here's something that stood out to me, though. He has 17 walks in that spot in the lineup. And I don't know if that's because of the protection behind him, in those games. But that's a lot of walks. That's almost a walk a game in that third spot of the lineup. 4 home runs
as he walks right now, currently.
So I have him on trial for loitering. Do you guys feel that he's guilty of that offense, or is that part of a bigger
innocent problem? He doesn't determine where he hits in that lineup. That's not Kyle Schwarber's problem.
But that has a problem. Isn't he on record of complaining about that he feels more comfortable?
Yeah, he prefers to hit there, but that's not. At the end of the day, that's not his call. So if he gets put in the lineup card and he's hitting fourth, he's not going to do anything about it. That's on another guy who might go on trial later tonight for his infractions.
Go ahead.
I don't see how you can blame something that's not in his control. He's going to hit wherever the coach puts him in the order. So for me, he's innocent of loitering. He's just doing what he's told to do.
Schwarber is a guy who is for all intents and purposes, a made guy in baseball. All right. Rob Thompson is not a new guy to baseball, but he's relatively new still to being a manager in the major leagues. There is no way that Kyle Schwarber is not having a say in where he's been in that lineup. In fact, I'm almost positive either him or the other guys in that lineup, because of the success they've had, even if it's just from a mental component of him in the leadoff spot, has definitely been noted to Thompson to put him in that spot. I don't buy for a second that that's Thompson or Dombrowski or anybody else in management's call over the player himself. Not for a second.
I totally agree, and I don't think there's a world in which if Kyle Schwarber went to Rob Thompson or went to upper management and said, "Hey guys, drop me in the lineup. I'm hitting. I'm your biggest power hitter on the team right now. Bryce is struggling. Turner's struggling, JT's struggling. We don't have a power bat in the lineup. Drop me in the lineup. Let me knock some of these guys in." I think if he goes to somebody and says that, I think they move him.
Okay, and what happens if Rob Thompson goes to him and say, "Kyle, we need to shake things up tonight. You're going to hit fifth." You think it's going to be an uprising? Maybe that's what a manager's job is supposed to do.
Well, that's a whole, like you said, we're going to be putting someone else on trial later on.
And that's why, and I also said, is this part of a bigger problem? Like, is Schwarber just the capo? He's not the head man in this.
Yeah, that's why he's innocent, because there's a guy ahead of him who has the ability to make the change and doesn't want to do it. And to me, that's the bigger issue than Kyle Schwarber loitering in the one hole.
I absolutely have him as guilty. I think that it's definitely influenced by him. I think that for whatever reason, listen, we've all been watching baseball upwards of close to 30 years at this point. All right. For 29 of those years, we weren't morons. Guys like him didn't bat leadoff for a reason. Now, all of a sudden, they want to tell us this guy's a leadoff hitter. He's not. And I hate when people are like, there's a certain sports station specifically in our area that does this all the time. Well, if he started off a game 1-0, what's the problem? Would you rather have one run on one hit, or would you rather have it manufactured? And I'm like, listen, that's one at bat, and maybe that does happen. Okay. But the thing is, you're trying to manufacture runs, plural, not just settle for one big bop of the bat 20 times a year, if that. Big bopper. Okay.
Bop.
Bop, 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 bop. All right. So, like, I'm looking for longevity. And I got a guy who, first of all, another problem I have, it's a huge problem. Even when he does get on base, which is rare because he only strikes out or hits a home run for the most part. Even when he does get on first base, he is not a threat to move. Again, loitering. Okay. The guy can't steal bases. He's slow. And then you put him in front of a guy like Turner.
Doesn't matter because Turner's not getting on base anyway.
But I'm just saying. But it's on principle. One of the fastest guys in baseball. And he's going to be stifled because he's got a guy like Schwarber in front of him.
I would love a stat of how many times those two guys have gotten on base back to back.
Oh no, no question, no doubt. But
especially to start a game.
But you have to think about that when you're making up a lineup. Like I don't even like I'm big on Stott. Okay, so I would have Stott lead off. Even if you don't want to have him one, I'd have him two at worst. He's still fast enough that he can move around the bases. He's also going to be in a position getting stifled behind a guy like Schwarber. It doesn't make sense. You can't manufacture any kind of rhythm in an inning, especially the first inning, when you have a guy like that leading off the game. He has a low on-base percentage. He has a low batting average. And all he's got going for him is he can pop one out the park.
So we got a hung jury.
Yeah, that's it. Listen, we're going to have, it's a mistrial.
Well, we don't really have a hung jury because, well, I guess if you go in, you have to have the full 3 votes, I guess, in order to convict. So yeah, never mind.
Al, why don't you go next? Because
I have the guy.
God.
Because I have the guy that we've been alluding to the whole time.
I did mine a little differently. So why don't you go next? And as the Phillies screw up again.
Yeah. All right. So we talked about how this is a bigger problem, and there's somebody that's behind the decision making, talking about Rob Thompson. So I was going to take him to trial tonight for criminal negligence, and there's many reasons. One of which being not moving Schwarber in the lineup, not moving Trey Turner in the lineup. He's batted second almost the entire year. I mean, at this point, I don't know that the guy's going to get around to finding a stroke before the year ends. Continuing to platoon Brandon Marsh. Continuing to manipulate the lineup for righty versus lefty matchups, continued just questionable decisions with pitching. So I'm taking Rob Thompson to trial for criminal negligence, and I'm looking at giving him a little more than a fine here, a little more than a slap on the wrist. I think this is something that we've seen him carry over from the World Series loss last year, and he still seems to be a little bit stuck in his ways. So how do you guys feel about Rob Thompson?
He's completely guilty. This guy, I don't want to say I was first on it. I told you last October.
No, you were early on it. Yeah.
You've been saying it for a while.
That I didn't like the way this guy manages games. At the end of the day, he lucked out last year. He took over this team, and by all accounts, he's a player's manager. He does a very good job in the clubhouse. These guys like each other. They seem to at least try and play hard for him. But at the end of the day, that stuff is going to catch up with you. And when your team is not performing, like these guys are not performing at the plate, all of a sudden, all of your moves are now under a microscope. Shit is a lot easier when people are hitting, and in the playoffs, when Harper's hitting bombs and Hoskins is hitting bombs, you can get away with making managerial errors. I don't understand a lot of the stuff he does. The fact that he just will sit Bryson Stott against left-handed pitching when he's hitting over 300 against left-handed pitching makes no sense to me. Trey Turner just never gets a day off, even though the guy just can't hit and he stays in the 2-hole. Meanwhile, Alex Boehm does not play tonight. For what reason? We need to get Josh Harrison at bats? Like, where's the priority there? This team's offense has been so bad. Play your regulars. You look at the Atlanta Braves. I was listening to a podcast last year. Their GM flat out said, we don't give our regulars days off. We've done enough research to realize that it's not necessary.
It's stupid.
Those guys play every day. They're 25, 26-year-old dudes.
It's baseball. We're not running around running 6, 7, 8 miles like soccer or something like that, or basketball every game.
Those dudes play every single night. There's no reason Alec Boehm needs a night off tonight. It makes zero sense to me. And again, especially in a world now where you have the DH, your bench is even less important. So you don't need to get those guys regular at bats. Josh Harrison's whatever. It's not like you needed a pinch hit in a big spot. You're not using pinch hitters as often. The guy uses the bullpen kind of on a whim. He doesn't show any sort of urgency in certain games. I thought coming out of the All-Star break, Christopher Sanchez has done a decent job as number 5. He pitched really well tonight as well. But why are we coming out with our number 5 starter against a team in San Diego, who we'll probably talk about also in a little bit, that you have the opportunity to bury? If you lose that series,
rotation, it's stupid.
If you lose that series 3-1, like, you're letting that team back in the mix, and there's no reason to do that. Again, I think if you want to give Wheeler and Nola some extended rest, that's fine. Throw Walker, throw Suarez, throw somebody out there your first game that's not your number 5 starter, and they end up losing that game. I just don't understand the stuff this guy does. I don't think he's a great manager. And
he's a chalk guy. Let's be honest. He's a chalk manager. Your best hitters right now in your lineup are Stott and Bohm, and they're batting 6th and 7th. What team in baseball worth a damn has their 2 best bats batting 6th and 7th? That doesn't even make sense.
To your point, like, I have more faith in this lineup when those guys are coming up than I do when I see, coming up Turner, Harper, Realmuto.
And that's a problem.
Yeah.
And the bigger problem is that there's no adjustment made. The other, and even a bigger problem, is there's no accountability. Clearly, he is a player manager to a fault. It goes back to what we just talked about with Schwarber. There's, again, why I totally believe that Schwarber is the one that has that call in that situation. It feels like the inmates run the asylum in that Phillies clubhouse. And I know that they've got guys that have been vets. I know they have leaders. I know they got Harper and Schwarber and these guys that have been known to be leaders in baseball clubhouses and this and that. But at some point, you have to be the one to step up as the quote unquote adult in the room and say, hey, man, you're batting whatever you're batting, 1 something or 210 or 220, whoever the player is, depending on the situation. We got to move you around and see what's up. All right. Spark a fire under their ass by doing that, like anything. And you never see that happen. Tonight's a perfect example. Seltzer, you stole my thunder. Why are we having the bottom of our lineup? And I'm not saying it in order because I forget who it was, but Harrison, Cave, Rojas, who's a nice player. He's probably the best out of the 4.
I like Rojas.
And Stubbs against the best team in the American League.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. You got a packed house down there to come and see Josh Harrison and Jake Cave bat and play in the field for the game.
Does it feel a little bit like a guy that we used to have on another team in this city? It feels a little Brett Brownish.
No, not Brett. I wouldn't say it's Brett Brown.
You don't think?
There's another guy who used to manage by the book completely. Was Charlie Manuel.
Yeah, but
Charlie Manuel was left, right. The guy just ended up having a ton of talent and an unbelievable team. But that guy was left, right to a T.
Al, I'm actually glad you said that, because that's who I've been thinking about with this, in the sense of the inmates running the asylum kind of thing. It seems like, again, to a fault, and I'm all for having a rapport with players. If you're a coach, I'm all for that. I get it. I totally understand it. But you got to also be able to separate and have that time where you can say, listen, I love you, but that's why we got to do this. And this guy has not shown that he's willing to do that. I mean, he moved Turner from the leadoff spot to 2, and that guy should be probably batting 7th or 8th right now. JT Realmuto has been hoarding in the middle of the lineup all year, batting 240. He is a buzzkill every time we get guys on base, and he's up to ground out to third or shortstop or strikeout. Total buzzkill. He shouldn't be in that spot. Again, Stott and Bohm need to be up. Guys like Realmuto, Schwarber, and Turner need to be down. And until I see, and another thing too, the bullpen. We've seen Kimbrel now develop into, and rightfully so, into the closer. Okay, but it was a long time where, and still even you can argue, those guys still don't have set innings.
Yeah.
We come
I'm
from
not
a
going to blame
school
them on
like,
that because they've been beat up with injuries, and that's been
But-
tough.
okay, but even before that, like even last year when he got in the job,
That's
and
true.
the beginning of this year,
That's true.
there have been times where we'd be like, why are you putting Alvarado in the 6th inning?
Yeah.
Why is Dominguez coming in the 8th inning when he just had a bet? Like, there's different things. When we were in Miami, and we got away with it, thankfully, but Dominguez had blown a game the night before. This was a couple trips ago, and they brought him back in a pressure spot the next night because he wanted to like say, I got my faith in my guy, this and that. Man, he's better than me. I'm all for like showing that you got faith, but like it's got to be in the right spot. Like we're in a pennant race.
This team fundamentally is terrible. As Bryce Harper just got thrown out of the plate by 5 miles.
And that's another thing. They don't have any discipline. Defensively, they're one of the worst defensive. They were bad last year. I feel like they're even worse this year. I don't know the stats.
You knew that. You knew that though. That's as advertised.
But I'm saying like they haven't gotten improved at all with it. It feels like it's gotten worse. Like that game Saturday, they lost 1-0 on a blooper that no one could catch.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
can't happen.
Absolutely.
The Guardians are not a good team. They're a very mediocre team.
For the sake of time, let's move forward. I think we're all guilty with Rob Thompson here.
Guilty.
Okay.
Guilty.
Go ahead, Chris. You go next.
So perfect segue actually. Speaking of those guys that need to move down, Trey Turner. Now, I've gone up to bat for this guy all year and said a few weeks ago, even to UL, that F was harsh. I think he'll turn it around. Bro, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like this guy, I just watched him tonight boot 2 balls in the field. And I'm not a baseball connoisseur by any means. Don't claim to be. But I do know the game a little bit. And it feels like to me, when he's up to the plate, it feels like his swing is just so big and long. Like it doesn't feel like he has a short swing at all. It feels like he's just literally like full extension. There's no times where he's like choking up or anything like that to get a faster swing around with the bat. Like it just feels like a big swing, and I feel like that's why he's been striking out so much this year. I don't remember him having a big swing like that normally when he was with the Nats or the Dodgers. I could be wrong. The charge I'm bringing up on him is theft, because I'm at the point now where did this dude just take the bag and mentally check out?
It's a hell of a bag.
Like, did he just get his homies to help him carry the bag out the back door and just totally like forget how to play baseball?
I wonder if something, Chris, I can't speak also to the swing, but when I looked at some of his like advanced stats, his ground ball percentage is at a career low and his fly ball percentage is at a career high.
Okay.
So I don't know if he's trying to, I don't know. I don't know what he's trying to do. His BABIP is almost at a career low as well. So I don't know what he's trying to do. It's
not the first time he changed teams, and he played well with LA when he went from
very well.
Nets. And he's got a championship, and I'm like, did this brother just rob us like blind for $300 million?
I don't know if it's naive. I find that so hard to believe. I hope it's not me being naive, but I find that so hard to believe on a team where he had a relationship with Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper knows the guy. Bryce Harper went to bat for the guy. Bryce Harper's not that kind of guy. So I can't see that being the case. I hope I'm right there.
And he finally showed some balls and like getting ejected for that awful pitch that he got rung up on. But I take it back. It wasn't an awful pitch. It was close enough with 2 strikes. He probably should have swung at it. But at least he showed some balls and some emotion, because I haven't really seen that at all either from him this year. It just seems like he's a guy where he got a lot of money. He's in a new city, a city that's very demanding of him and his and that team and those players. And I don't know if he's mentally able. I think he's putting a lot of pressure on himself, but it doesn't mean that that's worthy of a pass. I mean, like, we're in July. This guy's batting around 240 last week we talked about it. He's on pace to shatter his strikeout number for his career this year.
Oh yeah.
And again, the defense is what's even more worrisome. Tonight was this weekend, he had a couple plays. Tonight's balls he messed up were just not that's just basic Major League Baseball.
So we talked about this early on. I mentioned it. And I think we all kind of brushed over it because while it was there, it still was fine. In 2021, he was fifth in MVP votes. He hit 330 with a 911 OPS and an OPS plus of 145.
Not even 2 years ago.
Unbelievable numbers. Last year, his average dropped 30 points. His OPS dropped 100 points. His OPS plus dropped 25 points. There were signs of decline. We talked about this when we signed him, and we weren't that worried about it. I can't imagine he would fall off a cliff that fast. But God, it worries me. I can tell you that right now, being on a 13-year contract. I'm not ready to convict him yet because it's, again, we're theoretically with 13-year contract.
Yeah, 13 or 11.
Either way, I'll look it up now.
Either way, it's over a decade. I can't take this for over a decade.
I think it's 11. Because I think I remember saying that Jackson will be like legal.
11-year contract. I'm apologizing. We're still roughly 7% of the way through the contract. I don't think I'm ready to convict him of theft just yet. But God, I got my eyes on him. I'm doing some. I got the detective staked outside the house to see what's going on.
All right, bro. Well, you gonna put in the jury box? You gonna convict the dude or what?
I'm not convicting him yet. We got a long ways to go.
What do you mean not convicting him yet? What do you get months?
Is he guilty? Is he guilty of theft for what he's done so far this season? Yes. Is he guilty of theft of his entire contract? Not yet.
No, but that's not the question. The question is right now.
Yeah, he's guilty right now. There's no way around it. I'm judging it off the lifetime of the contract. For this half season, absolutely.
Okay.
I'll give him the guilty for theft. If you would have said like embezzlement, I might have not. I'm just
See, that's why I'm a smart DA, Al. I'm trying to get the conviction.
Down. But yeah, we can give him the theft. I agree with that. Listen. Before we move on, I hope it's just what we saw with Castellanos moving to the new city. Again, the human element. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on in his head. Still, though, like it's a lot. You ask
an RBI tonight.
Country.
Yeah, he just had a big hit actually.
Playing for a team with a fan base that actually gives a damn. Like, I don't know. Not everybody's built to do that and just flip the switch like that.
Well, that's why it's confusing with Trey because he's played in cities like. I mean, I'm not comparing DC to Philly. But they were a championship caliber team at that point in time when they won their World Series. And he went to LA. It wasn't like he's been playing with, like at least Castellanos had Detroit on his resume, the Reds. He had a cup of coffee with the Cubs, but like not a long time.
He won a World Series. He's been in big spots. He won a World Series with Washington.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So he's played on teams that have been under a lot of pressure and scrutiny. And I just feel like even to be fair,
it's not the same. It's not the same.
Well, let's say to his defense, Philly in a normal situation, like Philly in July is still probably tougher than DC in October.
Yeah, and Philly in July coming off a World Series appearance, like the expectations were higher this year than they were for Castellanos last year coming onto the franchise.
But the city's been pretty easy on him.
That's turning now.
It is turning now, but we've been patient for a while.
It's been a little bit. The Boo Bird's been out for a while.
Oh yeah, the Boo Birds have like tonight they booed him. And they did the Bronx cheer when Sosa got that ground ball out right after he got ejected.
All right, so let me move on. I said I did mine a little bit differently. I want you guys to look into the future and let me know if we're going to convict this guy of this coming up. So it hasn't happened yet.
What kind of witchcraft is this?
Look, this is a Miss Cleo.
What kind of court do you go to?
Let me get into it before we criticize it. Are we going to convict Dave Dombrowski of a gambling ring come post trade deadline? Is he going to make that major splash and send away the Andrew Painters of the world and gut this farm system to bring in a blue chip piece? Is he going to gamble away the farm in order to make this team better come trade deadline?
That's not what kind of question is this?
What do you mean? Is it a question? Do you think
this isn't a trial question? You can't a DA can't bring this question up.
I'm asking you what you see in the future.
We're crossing over into a different kind of
Seltzer missed the assignment. Here.
Yeah, I
You know
knew-
what, Seltzer? It's good. It's good because that means like it's a credit to you. You might not know how the court system works because
We're thinking outside the box here, guys.
That's good.
You had about 30 minutes to revise that. You couldn't could have thought of something.
Listen, to answer your question, I don't know if it's innocent or guilt. I don't even know how to do that. But the Painter can't move because he's hurt. Or
Why
when
not?
the injury
They
list or
can
whatever.
they can trade him still.
I don't think you can do that in
You can
baseball.
absolutely trade somebody.
You can move a guy on the injured list.
Yeah,
If
absolutely.
he's in the minors, does that make a difference?
You can do it in the majors too.
Are you sure about that?
I thought you
Yeah.
couldn't.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
If a guy's in the IL in the majors, I don't think you can trade him.
I'm
can.
pretty sure you can't do that. I would actually bet. I'd actually bet some loot on that. But either way,
Injured players may not be traded without permission of the commissioner.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the commissioner, what's he going to say? No, it's a
yeah,
process.
he's going to say no. The guy can't play for 2 years.
The team trading for Andrew Painter is not trading him for this year.
No, man. If he's got a Al's ingrown toenail, maybe they'll trade him. They're not.
You're wrong.
They're
on
not
that.
trading him with
You're wrong
a
on that.
UCL tear.
You're wrong on that. Now, if a team wants him, they're going to make the move. It's a matter. A team may not be as interested because of the surgery.
You show me an example where somebody traded for a guy that was on the injured list for a long time. That doesn't happen in baseball. Anyway,
trade somebody that's hurt.
I think that Dombrowski, honestly, if it depends on how what day is this? 24th? It depends on how this week goes. I mean, if they go like 6-1 this week, I think they'll go make a big splash. If they're like 4-3 or 3-4, whatever, how many games they are, around 500, I don't know. And I don't know if I even would want to make a big splash. I definitely don't want to get rid of a guy like, one of those blue chip minor league guys. Unless it's going to be a long-term move, not just a rental. So if you could tell me we'll be in on Ohtani or we'll be in on Arenado or one of those guys, that's cool. But not for a guy like Goldschmidt or, something of that caliber where they're older and only have a couple months left on their deal. No, I'm not in on that.
In the MLB, teams are able to trade for injured players as long as the player is not being designated for assignment or released. However, there are certain rules and regulations that must be followed when trading an injured player to ensure that the trade is fair for both teams involved.
All right, so you sit in the GM seat and you tell your fan base you're trading for a kid who's about to get Tommy John.
If it's a player who's going to leave a free agency for me next year and I believe that this kid's going to be a top 5 pitcher in baseball or a top number 1, he's 20 years old. He hasn't just lost all his value because he's having Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, but what pedigree has he earned or accrued to be able to trust that he'll ever make the big leagues from that injury?
The recovery rate on Tommy John surgery is not what it was 25 years ago.
I understand that, but it's easy for me or you to say that, and we're not in that seat. For someone that has that job and makes that money to make that decision, there's no way I'm taking that chance.
Sure, his value is not what it was, but he still has value.
Listen, here's the answer to Miss Cleo's question. The answer is no, because I don't know. I know we're going to talk about this next, but when you talk about a big splash and bring in a big name, other than Ohtani, who I don't think is moving, who's the guy that Dombrowski potentially is going to be offering up all of these minor league supposed studs for? Who's the guy?
Well, the other name, and then I don't know if they're going to be
Scherzer?
out of it or selling is Soto.
Okay,
Well, there's Soto, there's Arenado, there's Goldschmidt, there's
but Arenado and
pitchers.
Goldschmidt are Arenado and Goldschmidt still like prime cuts at this point in their careers?
Arenado
Depends.
definitely is.
Yeah,
I don't
they're
think
a
Goldschmidt
step
is.
behind the Sotos and Otanis of the world, but they're the next step down. They're some
Arenado's
valuable pieces.
Yeah, Arenado's still probably the best third baseman in baseball, right?
Well, for me, when it comes to trading minor league talent, I'm always all for it. I'm always pull the trigger guy because it's just such a crapshoot as to whether or not they're ever going to pan out. And history has shown it's actually been favorable on the Philly side that a lot of these guys that we've had that have been so quote untouchables, they never pan out. They never become anything. So why not? If you're going to be able to move a bunch of guys like Chris, you just said about Painter, unproven, has no chops in the majors. If you can trade these guys and get a guy that can potentially help you win playoff games, win playoff series, and win a World Series, then you have to do it. You have to.
Al, what DA Seltzer is asking us to do is he's asking us to get a guy from the street, make an example out of him, and say, you know what? in the future, you may commit a crime. And
Yeah.
I'm prepared to convict you of it now.
No, I'm not. I'm convicting him down the road. I'm saying, are we going to be?
Well, you can't convict them down the road. We're not down the road.
I want you to look into the future.
You can't do that in court.
We're not in court.
That's the point of the segment.
I'm investigating.
Yeah, but the point of the segment is we're in court. We're simulating an environment where we're in a trial.
Guest, you've screwed up a million segments. So
you can't sit there and say, okay, this person's on trial, but I'm gonna make a projection down the road that we're going to convict him of something.
Listen, if OJ got off, the whole court system screwed up to begin with. So who gives a shit?
Because the crime occurred. It wasn't in the future state.
I like to apologize to our listeners. We brought like our C- games tonight.
Well, I don't understand. How am I supposed to make a verdict?
Falling apart.
Next, go ahead, Gus. Tell me how you do it. Give me your other name. I'm not giving my other. I'm not doing my other one. I'm out.
I'm acquitting Dombrowski. Go back on the street until you commit the crime.
I'll give Dombrowski the chair.
All right. So I guess I'll just jump in real quick. So my second guy was the aforementioned JT Realmuto. I have him as with the charge of impersonation. Criminal impersonation. This guy has been masquerading around and still by some people getting projected as the quote unquote best catcher in baseball.
That's a Phillies, right? That's a Phillies social media thing.
It's now, and the tide's starting to turn on him a little bit at this point. But I have him right now as at best the sixth best catcher in baseball, behind Heim with the Rangers, Rutschman on Baltimore, Will Smith on the Dodgers, Sean Murphy on the Braves, and Sal Perez on the Royals. Is there anybody in that group that you would put Realmuto defensively as a total package, defensively and offensively, over any of those guys?
I just Googled best catchers in baseball, and Google spit Yogi Berra back at me. So I have an argument to make in this.
No, he's been terrible, and anytime he comes to the plate, I don't have no faith in him. But I'm sitting out this jury. I went to the jury selection, and I screwed up the thing, and they didn't select me. I'm out.
What?
I have racial tendencies.
Here's the thing, Chris. I don't think he's guilty because I don't think he's the one impersonating the best catcher in baseball. I think it's everyone around him that's saying it. So I don't think we can convict him because he's not the one saying it. He's not, you know what I mean? It's everyone else. So I can't convict him.
Look,
that's fair.
I said this last week. In his defense, he's logged a lot of innings. And that's going to catch up to you at some point, man. Those July days when you're behind the plate and it's 95 degrees and you're losing 7-2 and you're squatting them knees and you're sore. Dude, he's got a lot of innings and catchers wear out.
Yes, you're not on Instagram, but I posted a start bench cut, and it was Dutch, Chooch, and JT.
Oh. All in their primes, right?
Yeah. No, today, now.
Well, Dutch recipe. But I'd still think about it. I would go in their primes. Man, I love Dalton, man. Dalton's my guy. I go Dalton and Chooch. Dalton's the start. Chooch is the bench, and I'm cutting Realmuto in a minute. That's not even. In fact, I'd saw my boy Levy over Realmuto. We're talking about the Phillies greats.
That's tough. I mean, JT's better than those guys. He leaves so much to be desired because of all his hype, but I would still go. I would have to cut Chooch, unfortunately.
That's
his World Series ring. That's disrespectful.
That's terrible, man.
Dude, I understand, but he's not the player JT is. If that's what we're judging, like, congratulations. If JT was catching those teams instead of Chooch, still would have won a World Series.
He probably would have grounded out in Game 3 when Chooch had that
dribbler out third base line.
Yeah,
he would have probably grounded and struck out.
Well, here comes JT with man on first, 2 outs.
Yeah, watch what happens.
I'm going to guess ground ball to third.
Yeah, I'll call a strikeout. I mean, he's not even in the top I'm looking at like catcher stats right now with guys that have like at least 200 plate or close to 200 plate appearances. He's not even in the near the top in batting average. He's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
He's been terrible.
Probably around 12th or 11th in RBI. Like he's barely even in the top third of catchers in statistics.
He hasn't been good. We said it earlier. I'm never excited to see him step up.
No. And aside from defense, he hasn't really been great offensively since he's been here. Let's be real. Like, when have we said, like, oh, Real Muto's up, we got it? Like, when have we ever said that in the time he's been here?
I liked him this year. I liked him. He was steady bat, I thought. Not excellent by any stretch, but.
And I was at the game when he had the inside the park home run against the Braves in the playoffs last year. And it was an awesome experience. It was an awesome environment, the whole thing. But those moments that he has where he comes up big like that are just few and far between. And I would love to know his average with runners in scoring position or just with guys on base in general. Because I feel like every time he gets a hit, it's with nobody on base.
We talked about it last week. He's one of the least clutch players in baseball statistically. That's not just your eyes only. It's statistically he's one of the worst players in the league. So yeah, I would say he's guilty this year. There's no doubt he's an impersonator of at least an all-star catcher, I would say.
Okay.
So who do we want?
Got hung jury on that one too.
Yeah. So who do we want? Trade deadline's coming up. We got a week. This is actually, guys, this is the first time, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know the last time. The trade deadline for Major League Baseball has always been on my birthday, July 31st. Yeah. As long as I can remember. And this year it's on August 1st. What's up with that?
I don't know why that is.
I think last year it was in August, wasn't it?
I don't know if it was August 1st, but
yeah.
I'm curious. I play golf league on Mondays with my dad, and we were talking a little bit tonight. And before we even get into specific players, let's touch on positionally what you want, because his wish list was completely different from mine. So if you had to go rank 1, 2, 3, bat, starter, bullpen, let's rank those in order of need according to you. As JT drew a walk, so we got first and second, 2 outs for that Johan Rojas.
It's a big moment for the kid. Actually, August 2nd was the deadline last year too. So it's been the last 2 years they've had it at the first or second day of August. I think it's just the way the calendar mapped out.
Well, to answer your question, Seltzer, I actually the bullpen is banged up. But if we somehow, if we get back to full health in the bullpen, I like our bullpen. Kimbrel's proven that he's fit into that closer role very nicely. I don't, obviously Aaron Nola is leaving a lot to be desired this year in his, with his impending free agency. Zach Wheeler's taking a step back from last year. Ranger Suarez puts together some nice, quality starts, but is he an ace? He's not.
He was rough recently too.
Taijuan Walker put together some nice quality starts here and there, but can you really rely on him or trust him? I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's a bat. We need a bat.
Right-handed bat.
Yeah, we need a bat. We're losing games 1-0. I mean, we need a spark in the lineup that's going to, as Chris said earlier in the segment, light some fires under some of these guys' asses.
So you're going.
I want a bat. That's number one.
You're going bat, starter, reliever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Chris, what do you got?
I think I'm going to do the same. Definitely a bat, number one. Starter, if you're going to get another starter, I think you need to get another high-end guy. I'm scared of Nola this year.
Yeah.
I'm okay with I actually, and Nola's been, yesterday was a weird game because he had a rough beginning, but after like the third inning, he was lights out. He was really good. But the Guardians are not a great offensive team. So I don't know what to make of that start. This kid tonight, Sanchez, though, he keeps putting together good quality starts. I'm thinking that if you're going to get a starter I'd be more likely to want to get a high-end starter. Like when I say high-end, I mean at least like a guy that could be at least number 3, a guy that you could start and trust to start in the playoffs.
You have a
Now,
name?
obviously, you're going to have to give up more to get that.
You have a
I
name?
don't know who's going to be out there, but again, I talked about those guys on the Cardinals. The Cardinals keep jumping out to me as a team that we might be able to get a starter from. They
Like
got,
a
Flatter,
Montgomery
Flaherty.
or a
I don't think
Flaherty?
Nicholas will be available. I know Montgomery's out there. He's a lefty. He's always been solid. Even when he was with the Yankees, he was solid. I wouldn't be opposed to adding him, but I think I'm with Al. I would go bat, starter, and reliever in that order.
Okay. I would change it up a little bit. My dad actually was starter number one. I would go bat one, bullpen two, starter three. And it's kind of incomplete, I think, because if you're in that organization, you have an idea of what's going on. But I mentioned last week, Dominguez has been on the DL twice. Alvarado's been on the DL twice. If you go into the playoffs with Jeff Hoffman as your third best reliever, as decent as he's been, that's just not good enough. So again, if you're inside the organization, you have a better idea, health wise where these guys are at. But again, Alvarado's had the same injury twice. Dominguez has been on DL twice and has not really looked great when he's pitched at all. So to me, I guess I have more faith that these starters will be good enough since they've done it last year, even though I'm not a NOLA guy. But I've seen these guys been able to step up to the plate in the playoffs in some regard. I just don't think that bullpen's good enough as it is right now to carry this team in the playoffs.
Nola's just been so damn inconsistent that I don't even try. Like, we're not even going to get to the bullpen.
That's his career.
Yeah, absolutely. I've never been a big Nolan guy.
And even tonight, Kimbrel is basically, he's giving up a run again tonight, and you hope that he's not about to fall off the wagon a little bit. I'll be honest, right now in my gut, I don't even know if I feel comfortable giving up anything of legitimate value for this team this year. I don't know if it's even going to be worth it. I don't know if they're going to be able to make the run they had last year and get over the hump to win the World Series. I don't even know if they can make the playoffs at this point. I really don't. I can't give up a big prospect for if this is what we're going to get. This inconsistencies of winning 4, losing 3, winning 3, losing 3. Like I can't give up equitable value at this point for this kind of team.
Yeah, this team, they don't hit.
Yeah. And it's ridiculous that we have to sit here and say we need a bat when we have in our lineup guys like Schwarber, guys like Harper, Castellanos, Trey Turner, Real Muto, all these guys that are supposed to be good hitting baseball players, and we still need another bat. That's like, at what point do these guys have to look themselves in the mirror? And that goes again, not just back to those guys individually, but also to their leadership in the dugout with that manager.
Yeah, and I do, to Thompson's defense, baseball, I think, is the one sport where it's not like basketball where it's like, you're not doing a good enough job defending. You're not getting enough shots up. How can we make this work? Baseball, what do you want Rob Thompson to do? Say, go hit better? Like, these guys are trying to hit. It's just for whatever reason, it's not coming to fruition this year. The only thing he can do is shake the lineup up, which I agree he needs to do.
Not even doing that.
For him to go to Trey Turner and be like, hit better, I don't think, or play harder, I don't think that helps the situation per se.
And to be fair to Trey, I'm not saying he needs to play harder. He plays hard. He's just playing like an idiot. He's just playing like he's just not playing up to his standard. So
drop him in the order though. I think that's
something.
You take the pressure off him.
Something.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So I have a couple names here. Again, I don't think it's a big move type year. I really don't. Although I was looking in the past, Dombrowski has made some big trades. He traded for Chris Sale, Mike Piazza, Miguel Cabrera, Dontre Willis, Gary Sheffield, Max Scherzer, David Price, Johannes Cespedes. So he's not scared to pull the trigger on a big deal if it comes to him. But I have a couple of supplemental needs, which is kind of what he did last year. Let me know if any of these guys interest you. Justin Turner.
No.
I actually like Justin Turner as a fit for this team. Adam Duvall.
No.
Tyler O'Neill, St. Louis.
No, he doesn't he have a bad back?
I don't know if he's a bad back. I know he's been a little bit of a problem.
That's something. Yeah.
Lane Thomas, Washington.
Absolutely not.
Cody Bellinger.
Left-handed bat. We don't need another one of them.
What's wrong with all those guys? What's wrong with those guys? They're having good years.
Well, I just said about Bellinger. I don't want another left-handed bat at this point. I know he's versatile as far as what he can do in the field. I just don't. We just can't have another left-handed. We need a right-handed bat.
I agree with you that the lefty issue is with the Bell. It's a shame Bellinger's not right-handed because he'd be a very good fit.
Lane Thomas is what is Lane Thomas? Lane Thomas is just another Jag outfielder who's. I mean, he's not going to do anything for you.
Well, they're playing Jake Cave in left field.
Well,
do you know that Lane Thomas would have the highest OPS on this team if he was on this team?
Listen, man, I'm not giving up anything in Nationals for Lane Thomas.
Lane Thomas hitting 295 with 16 homers this year. 27 years old.
I'm not.
Who's playing left field right now? You need another, like, even if you're going to get somebody, you'd rather have Jake Cave or Lane Thomas.
Well, but I'm projecting like beyond this year too. Like if you're going to do a move, I mean, is Harper playing right field next year or is he playing first base next year?
I don't know. I don't know.
That's another thing. Like he's been, listen, he's been awesome at first base. I mean, it's only been a small sample size of a series, but he played pretty much a flawless, perfect first base since he's been over there. So I'm okay with him staying at first. But if that's the case, then yeah, we could use another outfielder to get Schwarber or somebody, or Schwarber or Castellanos in the DH spot. More likely Schwarber. But I'm swinging bigger than Lane Thomas.
Well, you just told me you don't want to make a big move.
No. I'm saying if you're going to make a move long term, I'm saying.
So give me some names. You have anybody names?
I honestly, right now, I don't.
The only guys, Adam, that you haven't mentioned that I had on my list were Marcus Stroman. I know we're talking about bats right now, but
right.
Tommy Pham. That name would
be a nice ad.
Coming up as a right-handed bat.
Don't put him in your fantasy football league.
And then all of a sudden, there's this buzz around Max Scherzer saying that he would waive his no trade clause if it was to the right team. I don't necessarily think Philly is, quote, the right team.
I don't know if
and the elephant.
I feel like he'd be the guy to be like, nah, I'm not going to the Phillies.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. But and then the elephant in the room, guys. What wouldn't you give up for Shohei Ohtani?
They're not trading him.
What? I didn't say that. I said, what wouldn't you give up for him?
It depends. It depends on what's going to happen with the contract. Like if I knew he was staying, anything and everything.
No, you don't know he's staying. He's a rental player.
Yeah, I can't.
I can't do it with this team.
Because he even as a rental, a guy like him is going to still cost an arm and a leg. I can't just give him up an arm and a leg for 2 months, 3 months.
But see, you guys are thinking too long term. I'm thinking short term. I'm thinking I get to go to the park to see this guy play.
Well, and you also are thinking you're going to get an ace and a bat at the same time.
Right. But let me tell you this. He has struggled as good as he's been this year as a pitcher. Over the last 2 months, he's been terrible. Last month he's got an ERA of 5.96 and a 1.41 WHIP. And as a guy who owns him in fantasy, the month before that wasn't very good either. He still gets a lot of strikeouts. His season numbers still look decent, but his April and May were dominant. And since then, he hasn't been great.
Again, human element coming in to play. I mean, he's got a lot of distraction around him right now. He doesn't know where he's going to lay his head in a couple of days, possibly. So that could be weighing on him a lot for the last month or so as well. I'm giving up whatever. I'm not. There's not really anybody short of Bryce Harper that I'm saying that you can't get for. I'm giving Painter up for Ohtani.
What about Stott? If Stott's in the deal,
yes.
Okay. Even if it's
it would be painful to do that, but I would do that.
Even for a rental.
No. I'm saying if it was a situation where, like you said earlier,
if it's a long-term deal, for sure. But I'm saying you don't know that.
Yeah, for a rental,
but for a long term, I would do it.
No, for a rental, you're not giving up Stott.
Okay. No. All right, we'll see what happens next week. I got a couple other bullpen arms I'll just throw out there just for the sake of naming them. From St. Louis, Chris, you mentioned they may be sellers: Jordan Hicks, Halsey, Gallegos. Scott Barlow, Kansas City, a couple Washington guys, Carlos Estevez from the Angels, if they decide to sell as well, may all be names that you hear next week for the Fighting Phils, who did fall 3-2 tonight to the Baltimore Orioles.
Orioles are a nice club, man. They play hard. They're a nice club.
I hope they hold on to the East.
Yeah, that's a good story there with those guys. They've been bad for so long.
Yeah, I like Baltimore. They're like our neighboring like little brother kind of thing.
Yeah, we got no beef with Baltimore.
No beef at all. All right, any thoughts before we finish it up on the Titans?
You gotta watch more Law and Order, bro.
You got to watch any type of law show or
I think we could have got a conviction in Judge Judy's courtroom.
get familiar
But
with
that's not a conviction courtroom. That's a civil suit court.
Listen, everybody, we're going to take a break. We're going to get things together once we take this break here. Don't worry. The second segment will be all right. We'll be
What
all
about
right.
Judge Joe Brown?
What about Hot Bench? You watch any Hot Bench?
We're gonna
Joe
get
Brown got in trouble, bro. He ain't on the bench no more.
Dude,
Judge
I'm sorry I'm not caught up on my
Yeah, you gotta get that judge game up.
court TV.
Yeah, Judge Mathis is my boy. That's my guy.
We're gonna get into we did the NFC North last week. We're gonna get into the AFC North next. We'll be right back. All right. Welcome back to segment 2, where we're going to continue our NFL preview this week, going into the AFC North. Al, you gave your predictions last week via text message. Me and you on board on all 4 picks, and they all differed from Chris's picks. So we will see tonight whether or not we're back on the same page or we're going to have some differing views. We will start with the same way we do it with all the divisions, by going from the bottom up based on Vegas's predictions. And similar to last year, I was a little shocked at who was on the bottom of the Vegas odd board in the AFC North, but it is the Pittsburgh Steelers at 8.5 wins. They were 9-8 last year, including winning 6 of their last 7. They have not had a losing season since 2003, and they haven't had one under Mike Tomlin at all. Kenny Pickett, second-year quarterback, struggled early in the year, but only threw 2 interceptions in his last 8 games. They built up the offensive line a little bit, bringing over the former Eagle Isaac Seumalo and drafting Broderick Jones as well as Joey Porter Jr. Let's go to Chris first. Chris, give me your thoughts on the Steelers moving forward this season.
They're such a typical, they're one of those teams where they just are there. They're not bad. They're not good. They could beat you. You could blow them out. It's a really, I guess, and that's what the NFL wants is, parity. They want teams where any given Sunday they could beat you or you could beat them, whatever. Pittsburgh's that stereotypical team. I liked their early part of their draft. I liked Broderick Jones for them. I like Joey Porter. That's a big, meaningful pick for that organization as well, with his pop being a legend over there. I like Darnell Washington, too, the tight end they got from Georgia, the 3rd round. I think he's going to be a nice player for them. They're going to have a nice 1-2 with Frymouth. But I got, what was their over-under? 8.5?
Yep.
That's perfect number. I would say I'll go, I know that Tomlin doesn't have losing records, but I'm going to go under. I'm going to say 8 and 9.
Okay. Al?
When I looked at this team on paper, I was kind of surprised that a lot of the names I saw and the talent that they have, again, on paper. Chris mentioned a couple of the guys, but Patrick Peterson comes over, slotted to take the nickelback spot. Minka Fitzpatrick is one of the best safeties in the league. TJ Watt on the field. Pittsburgh was 8-2. So, a lot of teams come and go as the quarterbacks do, but it seems like this team comes and goes as TJ Watt does. I think, though, the key to this team's success this year is that Najee Harris might be the most important person on the defense, because if he can get going and he can put up some big games, it takes a lot of the pressure off of Kenny Pickett, whom I don't think is a good quarterback. He had a very low drop percentage rate last year and was still mediocre at best as a passer. He never threw for more than 1 touchdown in a game last season. They do have talented receivers on Pittsburgh, as they always seem to do. They do a great job as an organization of developing receivers. Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, Chris mentioned Pat Freiermuth, the former Penn State Nittany Lion. But I just think that this team, they need a quarterback. I mean, the defense, you can only rely on the defense so much. And I think that this number is actually a little high. And I have Pittsburgh going 6-11. So I have them hitting the under 8.5. And this is my best bet.
Best bet. And I'll be honest, Al.
First of all, I didn't know Najee Harris switched to linebacker this year.
What? Did I say linebacker?
You said Najee Harris is the best player, the most important player on the defense.
Did I? Dude, I screw up.
No, I thought he said Minka Fitzpatrick.
No, you said
I did.
Najee.
No, I said no. I said, but I say most people might be most important on the team. I thought I don't know, whatever. Did I screw up every week? I called Isaiah Pacheco, Ian Pacheco 2 weeks ago.
Whatever. So
listen, let me
I
get my
was close to
spiel.
that too, Al. Go ahead, Seltzer.
I think you're being tough on Pickett out. Again, he was a rookie quarterback last year, and sometimes it takes a little bit of time to develop. I don't see him ever becoming a star in this league. I think his ceiling is probably like a Kirk Cousins type career if everything pans out. But I think he's better than the dregs of this league. And the one thing that we talked about last year when everybody was down on Pittsburgh is they have a winning culture. And whether or not that comes from the top with Mike Tomlin or the owners of the organization, that team just always finds a way to be good. And we haven't really ever seen them outside of a blip here or a blip there be a bad football team. Again, you mentioned 8-2 with TJ Watt on the field. He's probably one of the 3 or 4 most impactful defensive players in the entire league as far as making plays. I just see this team finding a way to rack up wins because of who they are and the way they do things. I have them at 9-8. So I have them at 10-7 this year and fighting for a borderline wild card spot. I like the organization. I like the culture. I think they win football games. They play the NFC West and the AFC South, which are not by any means world beater divisions. So I think there's some wins to be had out there as well. So give me the over. I'll be the lone man to stand on that totem pole with the Pittsburgh Steelers as I was last year.
You talk about my Ohio State bias all the time. This is that Pitt bias.
A little bit of Pitt in there.
I'm wondering if Kenny Pickett also spent some time at Chestnut Hill getting his associate's degree.
Or Ms. Recordia.
I said his ceiling is Kirk Cousins. I don't think that's homerism.
Well,
we had to keep you off the podcast last week because Sean Clifford was rostered on.
Yeah, please. You guys had Cousins in like tier 3 of the quarterback rankings.
Al, I was closer to you with this. I actually, on paper, looked at their record. I mean, their schedule. I had them around 6 wins also, but because of what you said, Seltzer, with the culture and their history, especially with Tomlin, I'm like, they're probably going to be right there in the thick of it again somehow, some way. I'm not enthused as some people may be with that roster. Actually, Peterson he's up there now. I mean, I know that's a big name to get, but I don't know how. I mean, we'll see how impactful he ends up being this year for them. But and Sam Alou, you could argue it was overpaid by them because they should probably give part of his check to Kelsey and Lane.
Maybe, but they needed offensive linemen. But Al, let me ask you this: you had them at 6-11.
Yeah,
they were 9-8 last year. Where are they worse than last year, where they won 9 games? Why? How do you have them going from 9 to 6?
Where are they worse? When I look at the schedule, I had multiple losses on the schedule.
Well, I think what Al, I mean, at least for me, and maybe for you too, Al, I think Cincinnati is going to be just as good as they always are, if not even better. I think Baltimore is going to be better. So in their division, it's going to be a little more difficult for them. They play the 49ers this year to start the season off.
That should be a win against them for you.
Well, I'm just saying as far as tough games that they have. So Jacksonville could be a much improved team this year, even more so than last year's playoff team.
They get the Colts, the Texans.
They do. They have So we'll see.
But with that said, a lot of these crap teams they play, like the Colts and Texans, they're at Indy, they're at Houston.
Right. And there's teams that are
tougher game. It's a tougher game than
we don't know how the Raiders are going to be. We don't know how the Rams are going to be. We don't know how the Patriots are going to be. Seattle, like those games could end up being really hard games.
And we don't know how the Steelers are going to be.
Correct.
It'll be good. All right, listen, we differ there. So I have the over. You guys have the under on Pittsburgh. Let's jump over to a next one. I'll open this one. The Cleveland Browns, 9.5 is the over under. They were 7-10 last year. Deshaun Watson, he's probably the story. Played 6 games at quarterback after the suspension. Threw for 1,100 yards, 7 TDs, 5 interceptions. Browns have made the playoffs once since 2002. Have only had 2 winning seasons since that point in time. I'll tell you what. The over-under, I said, was 9.5.
Oh.
Before I opened my Vegas odds book or my app on my phone, I was kind of bullish on this team. I thought they had an opportunity to go over the total. And then I saw it was 9.5. And I just think that's insanely too high. There are
It's scary high though. It could be a trap.
Yes, I agree.
it could be a trap, but there are at the end of the day, it comes down to what you think Deshaun Watson is. And I've always been a Deshaun Watson guy on the field. But if you ask me, what is more likely, Deshaun Watson finds himself after sitting out for a year and a half of football and leads his team to double-digit wins, or Deshaun Watson is just toast at this point and doesn't bounce back and becomes another one of these stories where the Cleveland Browns give this guy a guaranteed contract and he flames out and it's Cleveland Browns all over again. Like, I think that the latter is probably more likely than the former at this point. I do like their roster, especially on the defensive end. I like the Elijah Moore addition. I think they're tough in the trenches. But how am I going to bet the Cleveland Browns to win double-digit football games? In a division, Chris mentioned Cincy, Baltimore, Pittsburgh. I like all those teams. I can't see it happening. I'm taking the under 9.5, and it's my best bet. I have them 7-10.
You were just singing Watson's praises though a few weeks back on the QB rankings.
Yeah, but the hype has gotten too bullish. Like there's too many. So I'm looking at this from a gambling perspective, and the two different variances are Deshaun Watson bounces back and Deshaun Watson flames out. I like Deshaun Watson Houston. I don't know where this guy from sitting out a year and a half. I don't know if he's ever going to be that same player. And if you're asking me which is more likely at this point, I'm taking the under 9.5 wins. Like 10 wins is a lot. I thought opening that app, I thought the total was going to be 7.5.
Yeah, the number is way higher than I would have anticipated as well when you sent the text, because I didn't look at this ahead of time. So when you sent the text and it said that, I was almost tempted to say, is that a mistake? Cleveland's bad, dude. I don't think they're a very good football team. I think that everything you said holds true. I do like that they brought in a couple of Minnesota Vikings to help shore up the defense a little bit. Dalvin Tomlinson, Zadarius Smith, that's going to help out Myles Garrett, get him free a little bit. But at the end of the day, they're still the Cleveland Browns, and Deshaun Watson has more question marks than anything else. So I also have the under. I have them at 9-8. So I guess I have them close to the number, but I think that's their ceiling. I don't think that there's a world in which we're talking about the 10-7 wild card contending Cleveland Browns this season.
I think the loss of no one's talking about the loss of Kareem Hunt for them. I think that's going to actually be an issue for them offensively. Seltzer, I've never been a Watson guy. I think Watson's been overrated for years. I think he has shown he's somewhere in between the Texans Watson and last year's Browns Watson. He's somewhere in between there for his true self. But that's not a great quarterback. That's a decent quarterback. It's not a quarterback that's going to get you anywhere far, I don't think, especially with this team. This organization is very much the antithesis of the Steelers in terms of, we talked about the pedigree and the wins that they've gotten over the years, the rings that they have. The Browns are known to be lovable losers, and they find a way to mess things up. And we know very well what that looks like as our basketball team in this city does similar things. All right. So we know that when we see it. Also, Jim Schwartz is now the defensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns, and he hasn't called a defense in 3 years. He hasn't been active as a defensive coordinator since 2020. So not only is he going to be back at the helm for the first time in a few years, but he's going to have a new team, new guys on that team, and I just don't see it coming together, to be honest with you. I actually had them around 6 wins, and I'm also going to take that lock for the under 9.5.
Okay, so we have all three on the under. Chris and I best bet on the under for the Cleveland Browns.
One thing I will say, though, is a positive for them is under the radar that trade to get Elijah Moore. I think Elijah Moore is a nice player, but I still think that Kareem Hunt's loss is going to be one that's they're gonna feel that a little bit.
I don't disagree. I'm also an Elijah Moore guy, and Kareem Hunt did have some value. I agree with you there. Let's move on to Baltimore. Baltimore over under total 10.5. They were 10-7 last year, lost in the wild card round to the Bengals. They've made the playoffs and won double-digit games in 4 of the last 5 years. Lamar gets paid in May, 5 years, $260 million. However, second year in a row, he only plays 12 games. And over the last 2 years, he's got 33 touchdowns and 20 interceptions. Let's go to Chris first on his take on the Baltimore Ravens.
I'm actually really bullish on the Ravens this year. I mean, that's probably historically my second favorite squad in football. So a little bit biased here, but I think that Lamar coming back with a clear head and not having to worry about the contract anymore and being able to just ball, and seeing that organization has made an effort to get him weapons, drafting Flowers this year, early in the draft. I believe it was the first round pick, I think 23rd, if I remember correctly, 22nd, 23rd pick, something like that in the draft. Signing Odell Beckham I think that's going to be a nice move for them. I'm looking at their schedule, and they've got a lot of winnable games, specifically outside their division. I have them winning 13 games this year.
Ooh.
I'm very bullish on Baltimore. They won 10 games without Lamar Jackson, basically. So with Lamar back, I think that adds at least 2 to 3 wins for them this coming season. And even with that, again, I'm looking at their point differential. They were plus 35. They had 350 to points for to 315 against, and that was with mediocre quarterback play. I mean, they had games
Pro Bowl quarterback play. Some would say,
yeah, come on. They had mediocre quarterback play, and there were games at the end where they just couldn't score the ball because they couldn't get the ball to people that were playmakers. So I think they're going to be a really good team. I actually had this as my lock before I saw that over-under for the wins for the Browns, which I think is absurd. So I had to go with that. Even though I'm scared it's a trap, but I'm still, if that's the case, then we're all like,
we're all trapped.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the trap. I'm going to bite the bait. But Baltimore is going to be nice this year.
Al?
I have the offense has upgrades all over. Lamar's happy. You got J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, hopefully healthy. Mark Andrews is steady at tight end. Odell's Zay Flowers, obviously upgrades at the wide out positions. The defense is a little underwhelming. They lost Calais Campbell, but isn't he like 50 years old? How old?
Yeah, he's up there. He's up. He's like.
So is that really a loss? I don't know. The schedule's
He's a big locker room guy too, though. So it might be leadership.
Yeah. The schedule's gettable. One thing I don't like about the schedule, though, is a lot of their games are road night games, like a lot of the bigger games. So at the end of the season, they're at the Chargers in a Sunday night game. They're at the Jaguars in a Sunday night game. And then they're at the Niners in a Monday night game. That's 3 hard games to win right there when you're talking about in the last 7 weeks of the season. They're playing those 3 games. I'm still bullish as well. Not quite as bullish as Chris. I have the Ravens slightly hitting the over at 11-6 this season.
They also just signed Melvin Gordon the other day to solidify that backfield. All right, let me zag a little bit on you guys. I don't have a lot of data or reasoning behind it. I just have a gut feeling. And my gut feeling is that John Harbaugh will not be the coach of this football team at this time next year. I get, for whatever reason, Andy Reid last season Eagles vibes from this Ravens team. And I think I still think there's a little disconnect between Harbaugh and Jackson. I think we saw a little bit of that come out during these contract negotiations as they kind of, pushed each other a little bit during the offseason.
You think business crossed over into personal, though?
Do I think business crossed into personal? No, but I think if things don't start off on the right foot, there could be finger pointing. And we've seen what that turns itself into over the course of time. Harbaugh's been there for a long time. We know that, again, I think he's a great football coach, but so is Andy Reid. And eventually that voice becomes, you drown out a voice when you've heard it for so many years, and sometimes a new one is needed. I think the personnel is really there. There is injury risk with Lamar. We've seen it over the last 2 years. He hasn't been able to finish the season. His playing style certainly suits the fact that he could get hurt very easily. I'm going against the grain here, and I don't. Again, you guys all brought up great points. It's more of a gut feeling. I have them at 8-9 this year, and I think they're going to be one of the more disappointing teams in the league.
If your gut feeling was right though about this team from before, Lamar Jackson wouldn't even be the quarterback, right? Because
I didn't think Lamar would be back there.
He's going to be back. I think to close this out, I think that Lamar Jackson might be on the revenge tour this year. He's not,
100%.
Everybody's on the Joe Burrow bandwagon. People are even starting to talk about Deshaun Watson and Kenny Pickett. There's not a lot of people talking about Lamar Jackson as far as what he can do on the field. You're talking about a former MVP, a guy that when he puts it all together, he's unstoppable.
And I think even with
we talked about the new weapons that he has on the outside, and granted, it could work out well, but neither Odell Beckham Jr. or Zay Flowers played it down in the NFL last year. So there's still the fact that Zay Flowers could or could not be good, and the fact that Odell Beckham is coming off a serious knee injury and is now a year older. Who knows what's left in the tank there, as well as the fact that he has an ego that can blow things up if things don't go well as well.
They got Rashad Bateman still too. Don't forget that.
Can he play? Is he still on the field?
I'm saying as long as he's got to stay healthy, but he can, if he's out there, he can play, but he's got to be available.
You're not going to ask these guys to do the same things that Philadelphia asked Devontae Smith and AJ Brown to do, or that you asked Jamar Chase and T Higgins to do. You're going to be running the ball in Baltimore. You're going to be running the ball with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards and Lamar Jackson.
Well, they said this year that they're gonna throw the ball more. They've said so far.
But that's going to open up the pass. That's going to open up the pass game when they're getting 250 plus rushing yards a game. You don't need your receivers to be carrying the bulk of the offense.
I'm still not in on Lamar as a passer. I think he's a winner. He wins football games for what he does, but as a passer, I'm not in on him.
See, I like him a lot as a passer. I don't know if I like him as a playoff passer. But when you talk about regular season, I think I think he's had pretty good statistics with the passing game in his career. I think their offense is going to be very close to the Eagles' offense. Having a multifaceted, elusive quarterback with some fresh legs, fresh weapons offensively, a good tight end, a good running game. I think they're going to be very close to the Eagles in terms of, I'm not saying they're going to score as much as the Eagles, but I think they're going to look a lot like the Eagles at times. Again, they've been talking about having a new offense this year. So I think that we're going to see that. And I think that if that happens and they're successful with it, they could not only be a contender to win the division, they could win the AFC.
Yeah, if things go right, they certainly can. There's no question. They have the talent and the roster to do it.
All right. Cincinnati.
So you guys both had the over, I had the under. Let's go to Cincinnati, the final team in the division. Over unders 11.5, 12-4 last year. Obviously they are down a game with the Bills game that got canceled on Monday Night Football. So 12 wins last year with a game being canceled. Lost in the AFC Championship to the Chiefs. They've won double digits each of the last 2 seasons. Let's go to Al to start on the Cincinnati Bengals.
They have a hard schedule. I mean, obviously winning the division, you have to play the division winners. They did a good job, though, of trying to help out Joe Burrow with the protection, signing Orlando Brown away from the Kansas City Chiefs, who they play late in the year. Listen, when all said and done, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins are still quite possibly the best quarterback, wide receiver attack in the league. They were top 10 in just about all of the passing statistics last year. There are some real cupcakes on the schedule to balance out the tough games that they have. So I do have them winning a lot of games. I don't have them winning 12 games. I have them just slightly under at 11-6, but I do still think they're a Super Bowl contender. I just think that they are more of one of those teams that not necessarily, coast isn't the right word, but one of those teams that they're going to know when to apply the gas, when to lay off as far as the regular season goes. Just get to the playoffs healthy and do their thing, once they get there. So I have them at 11-6, which would put them under 11.5.
Okay. I think there's some questions on the roster. They lose both safeties. So there is some issues in the secondary. I do think they need a little running back depth behind Joe Mixon. But to me, guys, we've talked about our quarterback rankings. This is Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay Packers, mid 2000s, late 2000s. They're going to win 12, 13 games. They're going to do it. You know, they may lose too early and all of a sudden run off 8 straight wins. If Joe Burrow's healthy over the next 10 years, just take the over every year and you're going to turn out with a profit. I'm taking the over. I have them at 12-5. I just think they're a cash cow. I think they're a team that's going to be a perennial contender as long as Joe Burrow's there for the foreseeable future. And I'm not going to take the under on the Cincinnati Bengals at any point in time. I got the over.
Yeah, I do too. I actually, with the Ravens winning 13 games, I do not have them winning their division. I have Cincinnati still winning their division with 14 wins. I loved their draft actually this year. I loved getting Miles Murphy at the 29th pick. I love DJ Turner in the second round. I love Jordan Battle from Alabama at the safety. I do agree with you that they need to get depth at the running back position. I think Mixon is still a stud, but I think that if he gets hurt, that could be an issue for them as far as getting some replacement there. They do have a tougher schedule, but he's a boss, man. I love that kid. I think that he's probably at worst the third best quarterback in football. And when you have a guy that good at that position, like you said, Seltzer, you're always going to be there in contention. And I'm going back and forth right now between them and Baltimore for winning the AFC right now. Let's you in on a little bit. I'll let you in on a little bit for the future.
Yeah, we're not there yet.
I know. So I'm saying, but I really feel like one of those two teams could actually make a lot of noise, or maybe even both, and go toe to toe with the Chiefs at some point. But yeah, I had them at 14 wins. So I had the over.
All right, so let's do a quick recap. I'll go first. I have the Steelers over 8.5 at 10-7. I have the Browns under 9.5 at 7-10 as my best bet. I have the Ravens under 10.5 at 8-9, and I have the Bengals over 11.5 at 12-5. Chris, go ahead, run through yours quickly.
Oh, so I have the Bengals at the over at 14-3, Baltimore with the over at 13-4, Pittsburgh just at the under with 8-9, and Cleveland with the under of a ridiculous 8, or was it 9.5?
Yeah, they were 9.5.
Oh my God. That's either a gift or a trap.
I have Pittsburgh under 8.5, 6-11. That's my best bet. I have Cleveland under 9.5 at 9-8. I have Baltimore over 10.5 at 11-6, and I have Cincy under 11.5 at 11-6. So if you learn anything today, listeners, go ahead and pound the Cleveland over.
Want to say also real quick something before you close it out. Chiefs, Bengals in Kansas City, New Year's Eve. Going to be one of the best games of the year.
Hopefully, as long as everybody's healthy.
And that's on and off the field. Hopefully we're all healthy too. If it's New Year's Eve, we're all in a good spot.
No gout.
Yeah. Chris, you and I our stress levels maybe through the roof with these new kids.
Yeah, true that.
By that point. All right, but we will be segment 3. If you're listening, I would fire up the YouTube, Al. Would you recommend that?
Yeah, you got it. You have to have YouTube for this. You have to watch for this.
So one of our segments that we got great feedback on was golfer versus jobber, and Al has done it again. He's put together jobber versus musician. So if you didn't watch the first time, make sure you dial up YouTube for segment 3. We'll be right back. All right. Welcome back to segment 3. Again, I mentioned we let Al take the lead here with a jobber versus musician segment. So again, if you're watching or you're listening on your audio, it'll be entertaining, but probably not as good as the visuals you're going to get on the YouTube version. So make sure you're following us on YouTube, subscribe, all that good stuff, as we put out a video every week as well. So let's pass the baton over to Al to run the show.
So I'd like to welcome you all to the second edition of What a Jobber. You've noticed that I've added the exclamation point, so similar to Jeopardy, we did a little branding here. This is the music edition. So the first one was golfer or jobber, and that was to kind of test Chris, who is not as big of a golf fan as Adam and I are. And this time we figured, you know what, it'd be fair if we test Adam, who has said that he is not as big into music as Chris and I are. Adam mentioned that watching this, it's going to be way more entertaining. So here's my advice to you. If you're listening in the car right now, or you're listening at work, just stop. Just stop, pause it, okay? Hit the timestamp and remember when this segment comes up. Guys, we have a strike right now in Hollywood. We got a writer's strike. We got an actor's strike. All right? TV is going to start to be real bare bones.
You might be listening to us in your spare time right now.
Do yourself a favor. You know, Wednesday night, Tuesday night, whatever, Friday night, when you normally watch your show, when that show's not on, just throw this bad boy up onto the smart TV. Just blast it right from YouTube on your phone to the TV. I promise you it's going to be entertaining. All right. So I don't know how many I have here, guys. I got a bunch.
Al, before you start, in case someone is new to the pod or the segment, you want to explain real quick what a jobber is?
Yeah, let's do that. So a jobber in professional wrestling is someone who is also under the name of enhancement talent. So these are guys who get paid to be there usually just for the night, and they're out there to make another guy look good, and they're basically just out there to lose. And in the 80s and the 90s in the professional wrestling industry, there were guys that stood out. They had interesting names or interesting looks to them, and they were used sometimes again and again. And they've become kind of like a unicorn in professional wrestling. The jobber has become, almost like it's a fixture. And it's also someone that's almost, looked up to in a way, I would say. Chris, would you like to add anything to that? That I cover all the bases there?
No, I think that's perfect. And the name says it all, jobber. It's for those guys that really truly were jobbers, it was a nightly job. So I think that's a perfect explanation.
All right. So I'm going to try to keep score here while we run through this. There's different categories, as you're about to see, and we'll just get right into it with the first category. This one, we did it the last time. Guys you actually know. It's a little shorter this time. I wasn't able to find as many, but we'll start here with what I believe to be some layups. We'll see. So remember, these are all either going to be professional wrestling jobbers or musicians. And Adam, I did try to be fair, and I didn't pick like the bassist from Weezer, right? Like I tried to pick guys that I thought were, some of them are not household names, but they're at least from bands or groups that you do know.
So if it's individuals and bands, that's going to screw me up even more. But listen, I'm along for the ride. If I have to flip a coin, I'm going to flip a coin.
I think you'll be all right. All right. I do have Chris though as the favorite here.
Yeah, definitely.
Minus 250 here. All right. So the first one I have, this is an interesting one. I don't know if you guys have heard this before. Terra Rising. Terra Rising. It's Terra is the first name, and then RY.
Wait, you said this is people we should know?
No. People you actually know. This is somebody you actually know. Like it for sure.
All right. I'll start. That has to be a jobber. Because it's a terrorizing, like that's a play on words, like that's a made up name.
Dude, the 80s were a wild time in music, man.
Oh, so it's an 80s name?
It could be anything. It could be any.
I actually would go against Seltzer here. I think that might be a musician.
Well, Chris, you're off to a terrible start here, my friend. Terra Rising is a jobber.
Oh!
Also, Triple H. Triple H got his start as a jobber in WCW.
Paul Levesque.
Under the name Terra Rising.
Wow.
All right. That's what Adam off to an early lead here in the round where you're just supposed to get
I overthought it. That's what I always do.
That's the hard part about this.
So the next thing is The Edge.
So Chris is giving it away. He's giving away tells when he goes, I got it, right under his breath. If he knows it that well, it's got to be music, because if it was a wrestler that was that well known, I think I would know it. So I got to go musician on this one.
Yeah, that's my guy, the guitarist from U2.
That's exactly right, Chris. Thank you. It's the lead guitarist of U2, but I thought where'd the picture go? I thought throwing in the word I didn't want to, throw you off with there being a wrestler named Edge. Who made an appearance on the last What a Jobber? Damon Stryker. All right, this is the last one for the guys you actually know. This is Mike Bucci. This one's a little, I'm not going to lie, this one's a little bit of a stretch.
So, Chris, I'll keep going first. I'm gonna have to say that Mike Bucci, not to be related to my member partner Ryan Bucci.
Gucci Mane.
Mike he's a jobber.
Chris?
Oh, I can't go down 2. I think he's a jobber too.
All right. Well, listen, you guys, you got it. Both of you, 2 for 2. He's a jobber. Now, if you're watching, I was able to get some gifts for these guys.
That mullet looking
He's
sharp.
all about himself.
He's like, damn right, I'm a jobber. Yo, what show is that with the electricity next, like behind his name?
Was that like Livewire?
Maybe. No, Livewire never had wrestling. That's got to be like Superstars, man.
It might be. I don't know, but
It's got to be one of them.
Maybe
So
the Action Zone.
You actually know him? I don't know if you know him though. I know him. Do you remember Simon Dean?
Yeah.
And Hollywood Nova from the BWO. So that's the same guy. This is
How
the
about
same
that?
gentleman.
Doesn't look like him.
That mullet.
No, not and good for him. Because what Simon Dean was in like what the 2000s, right? So he stuck around for a while.
Yeah, he was a good character.
You never know what those jobbers do behind the scenes too.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, like sometimes those guys are like in other things within the organization besides just being in the ring.
Ring crew.
Yeah. All right, so guest, you're down 3-2 as we head into the tag team division.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you 2 names.
And put tag team the rap group in this?
I couldn't find their real name.
Party people.
So you're going to get 2 names, and both names, it's either a jobber tag team or it's musicians. They're musicians.
Oh, that's a missed opportunity there, bro.
The first one is Timothy Well and Stephen Dunn. Timothy Well and Stephen Dunn is the first tag.
Timothy Well and Stephen Dunn are jobbers.
Chris?
Oh, man. That's why this segment's so fun. It's so stupid. It's fun. Stephen Dunn is in my head. Like that's ringing a bell in my head with something. I don't know which world it is though. I'm gonna say that they are jobbers.
It's a lock. They are jobbers. Team name was Well Done.
Yeah. So I wanted to start off with kind of an easy one here. Timothy Well and Stephen Dunn are jobbers. AKA the tag team. The tag team Well Done. They wore they famously wore bow ties, and then you can't see the backs of those singlets, but they were made out to look like thongs.
Well, wait a minute. How are they jobbers? They had a poster.
Well, listen to me. So their nickname was the Southern Rockers. They had some success in some other federations, but then Vince signed them. And in the WWF, they lost almost every match they were in. Their only feud in the WWF, which tells you that they were jobbers, was with the Bushwhackers.
I was going to say, I feel like I've seen them fight the Bushwhackers before.
Yeah, who were also jobbers. So you had rock and hard plays. R.I.P. Both of these gentlemen passed away, actually. My research, I found that
also, one of the Bushwhackers died, I think, recently, didn't he?
He did. Butch died.
Yeah.
I say. All right, next, and at Seltzer, you have a 4-3 lead here. We have Joel and Benji Madden.
I'm gonna go with musicians. We're due for a musician.
Yeah, these are the guys from Good Charlotte, I want to say.
Chris, you are correct.
Yeah.
Joel and Benji Madden, aka the brothers from Good Charlotte, most notable for their song "The Anthem," which was in the Madden 2003 soundtrack.
2003, wow.
Yeah, a long time ago. I didn't think it was that old when I looked it up.
Madden's on Madden.
That's exactly right. All right, our next tag team here is Chris Allen and Gus Kantarakis. Kantarakis?
Why does it say job? Does it always say jobbers on the bottom?
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, it has been revealed.
It's been revealed. It's been revealed.
No, now see, I would have lost that because I was going to say that
I was going to say musicians too.
Damn it. Listen, when you put together 70 friggin' slides of this, there's bound to be one mess up.
70 slides?
Well, because it's 2 for each one.
Oh, Jesus.
because Chris Allen was the name of the dude from American Idol a few years ago.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Oh, damn. Oh, man, I messed that
That
one
was
up.
another miss. Look at that Christmas wreath around the WWF logo right there.
Yeah,
Christmas action.
special, holiday edition.
Did they win that match? What are
Yo, can you imagine convincing your wife, like, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's Christmas Day. I got tickets to go see WWF live. And then you see this shit.
Why'd they give him the most generic name, Chris Allen, and then Gus Cantankerous?
It's definitely their real names.
Oh, yeah.
Caracas.
Like they probably, who do you think they probably fought like the Beverly Brothers?
They might have. They are the only two in the entire slideshow that I didn't bother to look up any facts on. I just said screw these guys.
Look at them. I mean, why wouldn't you?
All right, so the next one is Chad Miller and Mitch Bishop.
I'm gonna go musician.
Chad Miller and Mitch Bishop. Adam's locked in with musicians. Excuse me.
Yeah, that Chad Miller sounds like I want to say a specific band, but I don't know if that's right or not. I'm gonna say musicians.
All right, so you're both locked in musicians, and you're both incorrect.
Ooh.
These are jobbers.
Wow.
Chad Miller, Mitch Bishop, who
Logan Paul on the left.
Well, actually, Mitch Bishop found a career later on. Wrestling was not his calling. It was actually.
Oh, okay. That's funny.
Dude,
that's funny.
The picture up top, he is so ugly in that picture. Not that the one down there is any better, but Jesus.
Well, it's not the same guy. It's
Erling Holland.
Erling Holland, Seltzer.
Oh, well, I didn't know that.
Jesus.
Well, he looks just like him.
A little bit, yeah. Plus
right.
like 85, 90 pounds.
And so I showed this to Casey earlier, and we were talking about like how it's like these guys, like Mitch Bishop on the right is probably like 19 years old.
Oh yeah, they're probably both young out of like
yeah,
out of high
definitely.
School. All right,
bro, we made it, bro.
We got no points that round. All right, our next one here is we have LP and Killer Mike.
I'm
gonna go musician again.
Well, Killer Mike's a rapper, so I'm gonna say musician.
Chris, I knew you would know that one.
Yeah.
So they are musicians, aka Run the Jewels.
Yeah.
I've seen them live.
I didn't know the other guy's name. I knew he was in a duo group. I didn't know the other guy's name.
Yeah, they put on a good show. They actually are named after a lyric from an LL Cool J song, which I found that out today in my research. All right, next.
Well, my man needs lotion though. You see my man all ashy on that?
Yeah, that's a bad look.
Damn, Mike. You gotta get that.
Did you watch his Netflix show?
No.
It was good. You should watch it. You'll like it. It was good.
Yeah, no, I heard it. I didn't get a chance to look at it, but I heard it was pretty good.
All right, our next one for the tag team division is Tom Stone and Dan Rubens.
I got to go musician again here.
All right, I got to try to make inroads.
We're gonna make you're gonna have to guess first in the next round, I think.
Yeah, we got to go back and forth because guess you're not as good at this as I thought you were gonna be.
Well, I didn't finalize my pick yet. Hold on.
Yeah, but you're playing strategy.
Yeah, you were talking yourself into Mitch Bishop.
Yeah, dude. All right, I'll say musicians then.
All right, well, you should have tried to make those end roads.
Come on, dude.
Look at that singlet.
Yeah, that singlet is rough.
Dude.
That's a single singlet.
Well, Tom Stone, which I'm assuming is the guy on the left, I don't know. But if you believe a random guy on Facebook, Tom Stone has a DQ win over Jake the Snake Roberts.
That's Pervin the Insider.
All right, we have the last tag team division question coming up here. Adam holds a 6-5 lead. Now, bear with me; these names are rough. We have Thomas Bangalter and Guy Manuel de Omem Cristo.
God.
There's no way they named a wrestler Guy Manuel de Omem Cristo.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Listen, if you've learned one thing from What a Jobber,
Yeah, it's true. Pork chop hash.
the limits on the names, there is none.
No, I agree with Seltzer though. I'm going to say musician.
What do you think? Adam, are you also on
Yeah, I'm
musician?
a musician.
All right, you guys are correct. So these are musicians. This is Daft Punk,
Oh, wow.
actually. So Daft
Okay.
Punk, famous
I never
for
knew what names were.
famous for never having shown their faces.
Mm-hmm.
7 Grammy wins for Daft Punk.
And they've been around a long time. Like they've been around like upwards of like 25, 30 years.
Yeah, they were in the 90s. Yeah, absolutely. They were around the world. That was a banger.
Mhm.
All right, so now we're in the meat and potatoes, guys. This is it. Jobber or musician, straight up, one name, you tell me. And we're starting out with Tony Roy.
Jobber.
Jobber.
So double jobber.
Tony Rich, though.
Tony Roy is a jobber.
Yeah, look at that. Oh
That
my,
a-
is it
is
Ricky
that a
Simmons
dude?
haircut?
So Tony Roy in his WWF career was 0-47. He had losses to Waylon Mercy, Bob Backlund, the Supreme Fighting Machine, IRS, and Bastion Booger, just to name a few.
Who
And
lost to Waylon Mercy?
His Twitter name
Their
is
lives are going to be in Waylon Mercy's hand.
what a great character. He should have gone so much further than he did.
What was the shtick? I was too young to even understand it.
He was like a swamp dude.
It's supposed to be Cape Fear, the movie Cape Fear.
Yeah. Like one of those guys in the deep heart, like the deep south.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Okay.
This guy's Twitter handle is at Alfred Hayes. A little respect to the Lord Alfred Hayes.
Lord Alfred Hayes, yeah. I mean, he looks like a nice enough guy.
Kind of weird for him to do that, to be honest.
Yeah, like of all people.
All right, next. Eric Freedom.
Jobber.
I'm gonna say I've never heard of this guy. I'm gonna say musician though. Yeah,
Yes.
a little bit interesting.
Yes.
Oh, I'm overthinking. Look at this.
Yes. Eric Freedom was
He's
a jobber.
tired, bro. Look at this dude.
He was also known as Turbo Eric Freedom, so I guess that's when
Nothing about him says turbo.
you got like special mode Eric Freedom for the night or something.
That is the weakest body I've ever seen.
Dude,
There's no
he looks
muscle
like he
on that
was
dude.
the IT guy. They put a singlet on him.
He's the IT guy that fixed Seltzer's computer last week.
Yeah.
His last tweet is from 2018, and it was, quote, HTF, so how the F was Taco Bell voted best Mexican restaurant of 2018.
Oh, he's a fast food guy. Connoisseur.
All right, moving on.
Oh, man.
James Hetfield.
Go ahead, Chris.
I'm going to say musician.
I'm going to go musician as well.
All right, do either of you know who this is?
I don't.
So James Hetfield is the lead singer of Metallica.
Oh, yeah. I never knew this guy's name.
Yeah,
I know Lars Ulrich. I never knew the lead singer's name.
Yeah, famously took Napster to court, back in the 00s. 9 Grammys for Metallica. Just one of the greatest American rock bands of all time.
Yeah.
All right. Next we have Tom DeLonge. Tom DeLonge.
DeLong. That's a jobber.
I think that's a musician.
Chris is correct. He's
I was going to say.
a singer
There you go. Yeah.
from Blink 182.
What's the
The other
score?
one being Mark Hoppus. You're up 1.
Right.
I knew he sounded like it was someone. I heard that name before. I just couldn't remember what band it was.
Yep. Tom DeLonge only one single Grammy nomination for Blink 182.
I was not a fan of Blink 182.
I was
They're all right.
so emo.
Yeah.
So emo. Bobby Salsa.
This is the trick. This guy is a reggaeton guy.
Bobby Salsa.
I'll follow Chris's lead there. I'll say musician. He's a reggae guy.
You guys both got musician? Well, Chris's knowledge of musicians is not great.
God damn it. I was going to say, no, he fooled me. He fooled me because I was going to say jobber.
Not great. Bobby Salsa AKA one of his other ring names was Bobby Salza. It was Salza instead of Sals.
And that could have easily been a typo.
So this match right here, even though we can't see the rest of it, he only had one WWF match ever, and it was a tag team loss to the Legion of Doom. So
Wait,
he probably took a Doomsday device.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. You think he took one?
Yeah.
he may not have made it out the ring.
Yeah.
Well,
Wait, how do you have an AKA and he only wrestled once?
That was in like other promotions.
Oh, I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
okay. All right.
Yep. All right, so no points there. Yes, it was
I could
certain.
have sworn that was a reggaeton person.
It might also be. I don't know. All right. John K9. John K9.
musician.
I know
Might be
Tekashi
overthinking it.
6ix9ine and Tech 9. John K9. I'm imagining this being a jobber that's got like the gimmick of a K9 cop.
Is that what you're going with, a jobber?
I'm gonna say jobber.
All right. Adam said musician. John K9 is a jobber. And he's actually the dude.
Oh, wait a minute. We saw this guy before.
Yeah.
Dude that's friends with Rusty Brooks.
How do you find this stuff? Can you give us a story of where you go for this information?
I can't.
Yo,
I can't get my sources.
oh my gosh. Yo, I almost hit that right on the head. That guy probably would have been after this, he might have became a K9 cop.
I hope for his sake. I hope he didn't stay a wrestler for too long.
Also, what was he, 5 foot? He's not even above the rope.
Yo, how pissed is he? His big moment, he made his big pose, and the friggin' ring rope is blocking his face.
Oh my god. Dude, I love wrestling, man.
All right, we got tie game, guys. Chris caught up. All right, next one we have is Michael Stipe.
I feel like I've seen his name before. So if I feel like I've seen the name before, it's got to be musician, because with these wrestlers, there's no way other than well done. I could be wrong. Maybe I haven't seen it, but I feel like I'm recognizing that game. I got to go musician.
Yeah, Michael Stipe is, I think he's the lead singer of REM, right?
Chris is correct.
All right.
Lead singer of REM. Oh, there you go. 3 Grammys for REM.
Yeah.
All right, next, Jack White.
Jobber.
He is the lead singer of the White Stripes.
Oh, come
Musician.
on.
Chris is correct, and he's the most decorated of all the musicians that you're going to see in today's contest, with 12 Grammy wins.
Yeah, he writes for a lot of people.
Yeah, between him as a solo artist, as a writer, as everything, whatever, and then him with the the White Stripes, excuse me.
Yeah.
All right, so Chris has a 1 point lead now, Adam.
Yeah, I was holding on.
All right, next, Tommy Angel.
Tommy Angel's a jobber.
Man. This could be like an 80s hairband dude. I'm gonna say a jobber too.
All decades are in play here, but Tommy Angel is a jobber.
I think
You got it right, guys.
I think I vaguely remember that guy.
You might. I mean, look at the logo. It was
Yeah.
like
That's a present day. That's a 90s guy.
And I'll tell you what, he was 35, 206, and 1. His record as a wrestler across all promotions.
He got some dubs.
Are you counting dark mat or like house shows?
I have no idea what that record counts, dude. I mean, look, when you're on the bowels of the internet looking at internet databases of jobber records, you don't know who's looking this up.
Yeah, because that's like 5 years worth of work in like on TV. That can't be right.
Yeah, it's got to include dark matches.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, next one. Barry O. Just the letter O, if you're listening, if you're not watching.
I think Barry O might be a version of Barry Horowitz.
Oh,
So let me go jobber.
all right.
Barry O. I mean, it should be a jobber. Yeah, I'm gonna stay with because I never heard. I never heard. I'll say Jobber.
Yep. That's usually a good strategy, right? So Barry O, Jobber,
Oh,
brother of that's his big post. He does that. If you look up Barry O on Google, you're
He's
gonna find
always doing the O.
yeah, you're gonna find a dozen pictures of this dude making an O with his arms. The ref in the back, not
No,
thrilled,
he's like, is this good? Is this guy serious with
not
this?
impressed. This guy though, the O stands for Orton, and he is the brother of Cowboy Bob Orton, which makes him the uncle of Randy Orton.
Wait a minute. He's Bob Orton's brother.
Bob Orton's brother, Barry O.
Wow.
How about that?
Also, the side note, we'd have some friends that may know who that ref is.
yeah.
We won't name names, but
All right, so Chris, you still hold one here. Only a few left. I'm gonna say only like maybe 6, 7 left here in this round, and there's only one round after this. Rob Van Winkle. Rob Van Winkle.
I want to go musician.
that is Vanilla Ice.
Oh,
Chris is correct. That is Vanilla Ice, whose album sold 11 million copies and was the highest selling hip hop album to date at that point.
And if he had known back then that outfit would be a big time MAGA look, he may have not worn it.
I don't know. Do you think he's
or maybe he would have worn it? We don't
probably a
know.
MAGA guy? Rob
Yeah,
Van
he
Winkle.
might be. He might be.
All right, we move on to Mike Starr.
That's
Mike Starr.
jobber.
We have both are locked in with Jobber. Mike Starr.
Oh, oh my.
Starr's a
Jobber's
Jobber.
awesome.
His nickname was Gorgeous Mike Starr. His finisher, he had a finisher. It's listed in the database. The falling star was his.
Yeah, I knew it was something with Star.
No idea what it was or if he ever performed it.
How come all wrestlers make that stupid ass face?
I've never seen that face.
Wait, look at the elbow pads. They're nowhere close to fitting him.
They're not padding anything.
Look at that.
Find some circulation with that tight ass wrist wrap. Look how tight that wrist wrap is. That's coming up like a muffin top.
I think that's the same ref in the back too. Pissed as shit. they booked me for a Barry O match and a Mike Starr match tonight.
He works superstars hard. That dude.
All right, we're gonna stay with the same first name here for the next person on the list. We have Mike Saxon.
Might be a saxophonist. Is that a word? Saxist?
Saxophonist?
What do you call somebody who plays the saxophone?
Saxophonist?
Yeah, that's what I said the first time. I wasn't sure.
Saxophoner?
I'm gonna go with musician.
All right, I'm gonna let you in the game a little bit here. I'm gonna say Jobber.
Mike Saxon is from the 80s.
Oh, there he is. This is Rick James.
He's a jobber.
I
think
he had a gimmick.
I think he was supposed to be like, you know how Vince is obsessed with pop culture. He was probably supposed to be Michael Jackson.
Or
Michael
Rick James
Saxon.
or somebody, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Mike Saxon.
Yeah. So he's a jobber.
He rocked it though. He was all about it.
Chris, you're up 2.
Yeah, this might be. I'm falling apart.
That's
all right, next. Steven Tyler.
Musician.
Come on, bro. That's Aerosmith.
One of the most famous musicians.
Yeah, for some reason I thought he was playing with me. I thought it was always PHEN, and I thought I was getting played there.
Steven Tyler, lead singer of Aerosmith. Aerosmith, 4 Grammys in their lifetime as a band, I guess. Famous for his humongous mouth, Steven Tyler, as you can see here.
Yeah.
All right. Next one. Angus Young.
I'm gonna go musician.
I'm gonna say musician.
All right, Chris, you don't know who this is?
No,
Oh, can I guess?
That first name is
Can I
like,
guess? Because
oh,
I think
is
it's my guess is completely wrong, but the first person that came to my mind was Bubba Sparks for some reason.
is it
No,
Beck?
you are way off.
Is it Beck?
No,
Oh,
he's
okay.
the dude in AC/DC that does the duck walk
Yeah.
guitar. Casey didn't know him either. I was surprised.
I knew there was somebody that was a singer named Angus. I couldn't remember what they were like, what band it was.
Yeah, and he's the last member like that because the band is still lives on, just with other members, but he still plays. All right, Jumbo Beretta.
Jobber.
That could be a rapper.
Could be. Or it could be a jobber.
But why would you be a clown ass named Jumbo as a rapper? I'm gonna say jobber.
That was good deduction by you, Chris. Jumbo Beretta is a jobber.
Oh, is that
He
John
is Jumbo.
It's a big
That's
he's a
a
big
little-
boy.
Little
He's a big-
diverse Schmidt combo there.
That's a big boy right there, Jumbo
There's
Beretta.
a couple of diverses in Schmitz.
Yeah.
Jumbo Beretta. He his theme song, if you're gonna believe the wrestling database, apparently was the song Hallelujah. That was his theme song.
Wait, how about the rare raw blue logo there? What was that?
That's true. I wonder who he was going against there. Maybe Damian Demento. And the other thing I unearthed is he tag teamed with Rusty Brooks at one point.
Really?
Rusty had a lot. Rusty was a tag team specialist.
Yeah, he was out there.
Got around. All right. Von Cruz.
This is musician.
Yeah, I was actually going to say musician because I thought Chris was going to say jobber, but I'm going to. He sounded confident, so I'm going to follow that lead there.
Oh,
You should have learned that when Chris is confident, the more confident he is, the more wrong he is. Von Cruz is a jobber. And it made me think, has there ever been a foreigner, type character in the WWF that has been a good guy? They're all heels. They all at least start out as heels.
No, Savio Vega.
no, because he was he with the no, he wasn't with the Nation First, right?
No, he came out. He was Razor Ramon's boy.
Right. But Razor was a heel.
Not at the time.
That's a good point though, Al. Most of the time they're heels. Right now, like Gunther and Imperium and those guys are all like they're really good though, but they're all foreign.
Yeah, they're always the dastardly heel.
And I don't even know if they're really foreign.
Right. Well, so Von Cruz, do you recognize him at all? Because he went on to become.
He looks like Conan a little bit. He's not, but I got a Conan vibes.
It's not. It doesn't say him or Tatanka.
No. Do you remember Vito? Big Vito.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know the name, but
that's why I didn't put him in the people category. But
Was he with like Nunzio?
Yeah, he was in the FBI and ECW. Yeah. All right, so you both got that one wrong. There are 3 left in this category. Chad Kroger,
singer.
Yeah, Nickelback, right? Yeah,
lead singer of Nickelback, lover of graphs. Chad Kroger.
it really wasn't one man.
What do I have here? Chad Kroger, 6 Grammy nominations, no wins for Nickelback. All right,
6 too many.
Seal Samuel.
That's a jobber.
I gotta, as much as I want to change it up on Chris, I gotta agree.
Unless that's Seal's real last name.
I'm going jobber.
I'm gonna hate myself if I say jobber and it is Seal, so I'm gonna say musician.
Chris, I'm glad you
Yes!
brought
Yes!
I'm glad you brought that.
That picture.
I'm glad you brought that.
No, I love Seal. I'm a big Seal fan.
I love Seal too.
I never knew his last name was Samuel.
Now
I like Seal a lot.
I was stunned that it's his actual first name. It's not his
me
stage
too.
name.
Yeah, he's on that. I think that's like a tribal name or something.
Yeah, Seal Samuel. All
Yeah,
right, so
that's hilarious.
Like Seal. So if you're listening, if you're not watching, it's a picture of Seal as a seal.
That may seal it for Seltzer at his fault.
Yeah, that was the dagger.
Got a 3-point lead, and the last one in this category, and then we're on to the last round after this. James Todd Smith.
I'm gonna go Jobber. Even though jobbers don't get 3 names very often.
Al, you know I know this.
All right, I was hoping you did.
Ladies love Cool James.
Oh,
James Todd Smith. AKA LL Cool J. He's blowing you a little kiss there if you're watching it on the big screen. Hopefully you got that on your 70-incher in the living room. So Chris takes a 4-point lead into the final round, which is our separated at birth round. I'm going to give you 2 names at the same time. You tell me which is the jobber and which is the musician. So let's just head right into it. We have Frank Ocean and Frank Cognac.
I can start. Ocean is the musician.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So Frank Ocean, 2 Grammys, 2 Grammy wins. No idea what's happening with him these
He's
days.
a weird dude.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with him. Frank Cognac is from West Hazelton, Pennsylvania. So a little bit of local flavor there in our game. All right, next we have I believe it's Jetty Lee. I don't know if it's Getty or Jetty Lee. And then we have Tiger Chung Lee.
I'm gonna go with Tiger Chung Lee as the jobber.
I'm going to say Tiger Chung Lee as the musician.
Well, Jetty or Getty Lee is the lead singer of the band Rush, which makes Tiger Chung Lee.
Is that Ming?
It looks just like Ming, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Dude, Vince is such a bigot.
He definitely came out to the Orient Express music. But what I also learned is Tiger Chung Lee is the Marty Jannetty to Mr. Fuji's Shawn Michaels, because they were a tag team in the early 80s.
That's good wrestling knowledge there.
But then Mr. Fuji went on to bigger and better things. And Tiger Chung Lee was thrown aside.
Yeah, Tiger Chung didn't know when it was his time.
So, Chris, you have a 3-point lead. Adam, I think you can still make it up here. With John Armstrong and Billy Joe Armstrong.
Chris, you go first this time. I got my answer, but I don't want to give it away.
All right, so Billy Joe Armstrong is, I believe, the lead singer of Green Day, and John Armstrong would be, I think he was in, well, they're jobbers, I don't know, but Billy Joe Armstrong. I'm going to say musician.
So I'm going to agree with Chris, but yeah, I'm going to agree with Chris, and then I'll say my piece when it's all said and done.
John Armstrong, if you're to believe the internet, was a jobber who, quote, dropped a close one to Skinner in that pick. So
Close what?
I guess he was going up against Skinner.
Is that a tattoo? What is that? A birthmark?
The patch of chest there right in his upper right.
What is that?
Just right in his solar plexus. And then Billy Joe Armstrong, yes, lead singer of Green Day. Adam, did you want to add something?
Nah, I'm good.
All right, last 2, guys. It's the last 2. So we have Moondog Rex and Rex Moondog.
Are you serious, dude? This is wild.
Go ahead, Chris.
How'd you find that?
Moondog Rex and Rex Moondog.
Dude, all right. I'm going to say Moondog Rex is the jobber.
Moondog Rex is the jobber. Okay.
So I know Al, and I know he likes to throw little twists in these games.
Might be the same
I
person.
think they're both jobbers and the same guy.
Adam, you're on to me. So Moondog Rex is a jobber. Rex.
Oh, look at this.
Yo, double points.
Obviously,
Double
also
points.
a jobber.
Come on. Can't fool me twice.
Why would they do that to this dude?
Can't fool me twice.
I was gonna say, how would you know to define the two guys with the same name but reverse?
Oh man, Moondog Rex and Rex Moondog, same guy, jobber both times.
That was a good pull by Seltzer.
Yeah.
I'm cool with him getting 2 points.
Yeah, he does it. Yeah, so he catches. He catches. Well, I think he's down 2 now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but that's it, right?
This is our last question. This is the last one. We have Max Payne.
There's nobody else?
This is it. Max. It's just Max Payne for this one. Separated at birth. Max Payne. MAXXPAYN.
That was definitely that's definitely a wrestler, wasn't it?
I'm gonna go twist again. I think there was a wrestler and a jobber named Max, or a jobber and a musician named Max Payne.
Yeah, but then you still don't get 2 points. I said one of them.
Whatever. I'm saying there's one of each. That's my
Was
answer.
it Max Payne? Didn't he play? Wait a minute. I know exactly who Max Payne was.
Chris trying to
Max
hold on to the
Payne-
lead.
Max Payne was a wrestler whose gimmick was a musician.
So what are you saying here?
It's both.
That's, guess that's Man Mountain Rock.
No, Max. I think he was in WCW.
So what are you saying? What's your answer?
I'm just, well, ultimately he's a wrestler.
Okay, Adam, what do you got? Got both.
Yeah, I got one of each.
Listen, Seltz, you were down 2, right? So I don't know if you could have caught up here. Max Payne was
That's Man Mountain Rock. Come on, man.
I knew he was definitely in. I know I saw him somewhere wrestling with that name.
That's
Max
3
Payne.
points. That should be worth 3.
Well,
Yeah,
time
that-
out because I said the same thing.
I got to be honest. I'm tempted to give Seltzer the whole thing because for mentioning.
Wait a minute. I said the same thing. I
Yeah,
said
but
he was
he
a wrestler
said-
whose gimmick was a musician.
He called him out as being Man Mountain Rock.
That is true, though.
That's a wild pull, dude. So Max Payne, also known as Man Mountain Rock, had a little stint in the WWF.
In every match, he used to play a solo for like a minute before the match.
Yeah,
used to-
dude.
I think he used to play the national anthem.
He did all kind of stuff.
Then he
Yeah,
went
and,
back.
and Vince would be like, "There's Man Mountain Rock player."
His finisher was called the whammy bar, which was an arm bar.
I thought he did a moonsault.
No, I got whammy bar here. That's what I got.
That's
Moves
fine.
back then were awful.
So, guys, that wraps it up. And if I'm giving Seltzer 2 points there, that's a 1-point win for guests. But I'm going to be honest, as the host of this show, pulling Man Mountain Rock before I showed the picture guest, I got to give Seltzer 3 there. That gives him the win. That seals
No.
it.
At worst, it's a draw because I said this. I didn't get Man Mountain Rock, but I still said he was a wrestler whose musician was the gimmick.
I don't want to say it was like Nova over Georgetown in '85, but it was a true underdog story and a big time comeback for Team Adam.
I'm okay with the draw. I'm not okay with the L on that because I was up and I still said at least 1 point worthy of an answer.
The followers on Twitter have been getting in my DMs. They call me the king of round 3. That's what they call me around here these days.
Chris, all it took for you was to realize that Von Cruz was a jobber and you would have won no matter what.
Yeah, good work on that PowerPoint. That was fantastic.
Oh,
I'd love to see the sources and where all that information comes from. God bless you.
Never gonna reveal it, but I'll tell you what, we're gonna have a few more of these segments because there's a lot of
you're on the depths of Twitter and Instagram for
the
these.
well is deep.
There's so many like little shady pockets of the internet that are obsessed with jobbers, and these pictures are just and these little like biographies are all over the place, man. It's crazy.
That's so funny.
We got to get Liam on. You got to get Liam on to host the trivia, though.
Yeah, we got to do some more trivia. We'll do more stuff like that coming up in the near future. We have our fantasy football segments also coming up as the season gets closer. We'll do a trade deadline recap probably next week. What day is? So the trade deadline will be next Monday.
It's a Tuesday, the
Oh
first.
no, you're right. It's Tuesday. So there might not be. Maybe it'll be 2 weeks from now. A lot of stuff on the horizon, boys.
Yes, sir.
But until then, we're going to drop that beat.